Henry cuts through the noise and gives you the facts you need to know. Watch Ed on The Briefing tonight on Newsmax 2.
Hi, folks. We're back. If you've been injured in an accident that's not your fault and you don't have an attorney, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions and tell you what your case is potentially worth. Pick up the phone, call now.
Your next breakdown could cost thousands.
Unless you have endurance.
I will never pay for covered car repairs again.
This driver's not leaving without paying thousands.
These repairs cost thousands too, except the driver's not paying for it. Endurance is.
Endurance has saved me over $3,400.
It was like almost a $6,000 job. Endurance covered it.
If your car's out of warranty, a new water pump could cost over $1,300.
Over here, it's covered.
An engine, $8,000.
With endurance, it's covered.
I tell all my customers, make Endurance pay for that car repair.
In my first year with Endurance, they covered a $14,000 engine replacement.
With endurance, you can keep your car on the road longer.
And never pay out of pocket for a costly repair.
To save $1,000, I would take it any day.
Endurance covers your car's most expensive repairs.
Parts and labor included.
A new steering rack.
The $5,000 head gasket repair.
Endurance covered it start to finish.
And your rate stays the same no matter how many claims you file.
I expected my rate to change, and it never did.
Plus, Endurance lets you pick the mechanic you trust to do the work.
Or take advantage of their VIP repair network.
So how much is Endurance coverage really?
Way less than you think.
Totally beat every other competitor.
If your car's under 20 years old, Endurance has you covered with unlimited miles. Plus, your plan includes 24/7 roadside assistance anywhere in the country.
So, who's gonna pay for your next car repair? You?
Nah, Endurance.
Right now, you can get $300 off any plan. Plus, a year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value, free. All backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Visit EnduranceWarranty.com or call 1-833-440-5017 for a free quote. That's 1-833-440-5017.
All right, welcome back.
Wow.
So over the weekend, key senators unveiled the short-term funding bill to keep the government going through the midterm elections. That's key. You wanted to make sure there was no government shutdown while the midterms are underway. So that was some news that we saw over the weekend. And before we get to the midterms, a primary that we're watching.
Primary tomorrow. This is a big one, Michigan. We get the Senate Democrat primary. You've got Haley Stevens against, of course, the one that's been getting a lot of attention, Abdul al-Sayed. He's been backed now by Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. He's got all those major endorsements. The question is whether or not he's going to get through. And then he's up against Mike.
Journey to find answers to life's biggest questions. Watch Road Trip to Truth, Monday and Saturday on theDove TV. Encouraging and informative. Good morning. You're tuned to theDove. Encouraging and informative. Helping Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, and Nevada start the day with news and encouragement. This is Mornings on theDove.
Well, good morning to everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to Mornings on theDove. This is the happening place. Good morning to you. Trust your weekend was a good one. Here we are starting a new week with a whole bunch of things in front of us this morning, and including Steve Johnson.
Hey, good to be here.
From down there at the Southern Command, where it's very, very hot. We're going to have Tucson weather this week.
Really?
103, 104, 105, those kind of numbers, you know.
But it'll be a dry heat, won't it?
Here, no. Down there, yes.
I think, you know, I talked to somebody who was in Missouri for last week, and I said, well, that's kind of warm there, and he goes, yeah, it's kind of humid too. And get this, somebody was up in Snowmass. Okay, so we're talking about Colorado.
Okay.
And you're at 8,500 feet. And he said it was in the upper 80s, low 90s in a place called Snowmass. I thought, how different is that from being in the deserts of Tucson or the coastal area of Oregon? Well, the coastal area is much cooler. But to be in Medford, where you've got some warm temperatures there too.
Yeah, it's going to be hot this week. Nice today, but it warms up a little bit today, but it bumps pretty high tomorrow. So we'll give you the details on that coming up. We're still fighting unbelievable fires, and even parts of Spokane is burning to the ground.
Wow.
It is an unbelievable year with the firefighting, and we'll have some of that information for you coming up in a little bit. But in the meantime, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Anything special today?
Yeah, one way to cool off, I think, if you like it, and I've heard some people don't like watermelon. How do you not like watermelon?
Polina.
They say, I don't like the flavor. It's like it's watermelon.
Polina doesn't like it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay, I don't get it. But anyway, if you have watermelon, even if it's 100 degrees, it drops 5, maybe 10 degrees when you're having a watermelon. At least in my mind, it does.
Oh, sure.
Hey, it's also Grab Some Nuts Day, and that doesn't mean some of the coworkers.
Okay.
That means the pistachios and the peanuts and the cashews and all that kind of stuff. They say a handful is good. You get more than that, and there's a lot of fat, but it's very healthy that way. Let's see, I thought there was one more thing. No, that's it. I don't know. We don't need any more. Watermelon and nuts. There you go.
Well, does your cat like watermelon?
I have never found out if they do or not. Does your dog?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it's kind of like, it's fun to watch them eat it because it's kind of like they overchew it. Yeah,
that's true. And watermelon, you don't have to chew much.
No, it just dissolves.
Like butter.
It just dissolves. Well, that's good. Happy Watermelon Day. All right, good morning to you. 3 minutes past the hour. Yes, word for a hot week. Let's take a look at the weather for you this morning.
Here's a look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. Across northern Oregon and southern Washington, smoke gives way to sunny skies with highs in the mid to upper 80s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Through the Willamette Valley, smoke, then sunshine in Salem and Albany, both reaching 88. Calm winds for Corvallis and Eugene with daytime highs near 87 this afternoon. Patchy smoke in central Oregon before turning sunny in Prineville near 83, while Bend and Sun River both top out near 79. Boise cools to a high of 85 and a low of 53 later tonight. Along the Oregon coast, sunny weather in Coos Bay near 71 and breezy in Port Orford with gusts as high as 36 miles per hour. Brookings climbs to 72, while Crescent City turns sunny and breezy with a high of 73. Across southern Oregon, patchy smoke clears to sunshine and 95 in Grants Pass. Medford turns sunny and hot with a high of 98. Ashland climbs to 94 and Klamath Falls finishes near 89. In Northern California, sunny and smoky with highs near 95 in Wairika. Sunny and hot for Redding, reaching 108 and Chico 106, while Fort Bragg stays sunny with a high of 67. Around the Bay Area, sunny skies continue with highs near 92 in Santa Rosa, 91 in Napa, 76 in San Francisco, and in San Jose, low 90s with overnight temperatures cooling into the upper 50s. And sunny and triple-digit heat across Central California with a high of 105 in Sacramento through Fresno and Visalia. Stockton and Modesto top out near 104, and Bakersfield sees a daytime high of 106. That's a snapshot of your Monday weather from Grange Co-op.
Well, there's the iconic shot from the top of Roxanne as it looks to the northeast this morning, and the sun's still quite a ways from coming up as the days continue to get a little shorter, at least the daylight hours get a little shorter. And so there you can see, we've got quite a ways to go, maybe another half hour before we see a full sunrise this morning.
Boy, the coast sure looks nice. Yeah. 70s. I mean, you talk about Chamber of Commerce moments.
There you go.
All they have to do is show that. And you don't have to show a map or pictures or anything. It's just come to the coast and cool off.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I'd love to drive up there. Highway 101. And, well, anyway, I digress, but it's in the back of my mind. This week, Monday, some people, we're looking at it saying, okay, the whole week is ahead of us. But for some people, they may have been dreading this week because of what they know is going to be happening. Well, Johnny Erickson Tata says, if you've got a difficult week ahead of you, cling to the Lord and remember that His right hand upholds you.
Hi, I'm Johnny. And whenever I have a tiring day or it's been a busy week, I know just where to open my Bible. To Psalm 63, where the psalmist says, My soul clings to you, O God. Your right hand upholds me. Why that particular verse? Well, first, consider all the things that God does with that right hand of his, okay? I mean, with that right hand, he's carved out rivers and puckered up mountain ranges. He's ladled out seas and dug channels for streams and springs. All kinds of things. Not to mention those same hands spread wide on the cross at Calvary. And just to think that with those very hands, Psalm 63 says that God upholds you and me. His to-do list is always full, but right now, in all of his busyness, Jesus is upholding you with his right hand. Not just the universe, he's upholding you. Oh my goodness, and that is reason enough today to pause, to praise him, and to trust him. In the midst of all his heavenly duties, the Lord is giving you his righteous right hand, the hand that accepts you, that blesses you, that sustains you, rewards you for being trustworthy with his calling on you. And wow, today, that is something to celebrate.
Good stuff. Only Johnny can give you that kind of encouragement. Take that with you today. All right. Good morning to you. 7.5 past the hour. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. And of course, it's being headlined this morning that apparently the president has canceled attack on Iran. Apparently, it was being, I guess, talked about as being the biggest attack yet. However, some other countries got involved and asked the president to hold off. The UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Iran asked the president to not attack, so he decided to hold off. And part of that is negotiations. Apparently, they're willing to talk again. And the immediate opening of the Straits of Hormuz. We'll see. In the meantime, here's what the president had to say.
It was going to be a massive attack. It was going to be an attack that would have been by far the biggest attack since World War II. But they've asked us not to do it. They said, please don't do it. And their neighbors said that too. And so we're just going to see whether or not we can make a deal toward the denuclearization.
How long have we been down this road, huh?
Yeah, and I don't know what the deal is. If the end goal is to denuke Iran for the United States and also for Israel, is Iran willing to give it up? We'll see. Is this another pause? Is this another delay? I don't understand the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia talking to Iran, and the four of those countries asking the president to hold off. So does that mean that the UAE, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia are talking directly with Iran?
Apparently, Iran says that the only one they're talking to is Dubai. So who knows? I mean, Iran will attack any of them, and yet the conversations, I suppose, through diplomatic sources are ongoing.
And the question is, are they talking to the right people? I mean, there's all of that. So it's another pause in what's going to go on here. So I think, I don't know, just about the time you try to think you know what the president's doing, something else happens. But he did hold off. Apparently part of the deal of holding off is to immediately open the Straits of Hormuz. And basically he said the emerging agreement would, quote, include the immediate, complete, and total opening of the straits. So, we'll see.
And by the way, that has brought oil prices down, as you'll find out as the show goes on. It has dropped a few dollars, which is encouraging.
Okay, well,
there you go.
What's happening in Cuba?
Well, of all the concerns we have around the globe, haven't heard much from North Korea. We're hearing a little bit more about Cuba and the problems that they apparently pose for us. Well, there was a new report out. I don't know if you saw this because there's so much stuff that's going on that had to do with stating that Cuba is actually the capital of communism. And of course, we've had a lot of elections here that people who want to be Congress people who are socialists / communists. So Cuba now kind of the capital of all of that. Secretary of State Mark Rubio talked over the weekend, and he confirmed the findings of that report.
If you look at the history of espionage in the United States, Cuba is the only country that consistently has implanted and embedded spies in our system without even paying them. We had an ambassador, a U.S. ambassador, who ended up being a Cuban spy and was recently convicted. We've had them penetrate the highest levels of the Defense Intelligence Agency. Ana Belén Montes was one of the single biggest intelligence failures on the part of the United States and one of the biggest penetrations we've ever had in our system. So, and then on the influence front, if you look all throughout Latin America, every communist left-wing insurgency that's destabilized governments across the region, every single one of them over the last 40, 50 years has found its support, its help, in many cases its birth from a Cuban influence operation. So it was an important report just to highlight the role they play in our country, a very negative role.
So is that going to be another direction that we look at some point? We have in the past. But this report not encouraging about our relations with them.
Well, okay, they've been heavily impacted by no oil coming in from Venezuela. Are they on the verge? Are they getting supplies elsewhere from other communist countries? We'll see. Is it, pardon the term, but is it low-hanging fruit for the United States? And does the Monroe Doctrine come into play here because they are part of the Northern Hemisphere?
Well, John Kennedy, our president, thought it was low-hanging fruit, and look what happened there. So it didn't work out too well. It's just another, once again, another area of conflict that could grow as time goes on, as if we don't have enough on our plate already at this point.
I want to swing your attention to women's basketball. I'm really interested to know what's going on with this player White and why she's so targeted? Do you have any idea?
Well, what's happening is Sophia Cunningham and Caitlin Clark, they've all said that they don't want men in women's sports. Their coach, though, Stephanie White, said, you know, she was asked this question. She says, well, she's just not really qualified to make a decision on that.
I don't ever believe that exclusion is an answer. I just don't. I do think, you know, when we think about various levels of sport, various governing bodies of sport and things that go into that, like I said, I'm not educated enough at the different levels. I know growing up, I played with the boys all the time.
So
there weren't girl sports.
Would you welcome a biological male in WNBA?
Again, it's like, I don't know. When we talk about biological male and scientifically where we are, I think it's a totally different scenario.
Well, she's
there was another. I was just gonna say there was another coach that had a shirt on that said something about trans kids matter, and it's like, why are they making this an issue? The coaches seem to be on one side, and some of the players seem to be on the other. Even though the Supreme Court kind of ruled that you can prevent a biological male from competing in a female sport.
Well, Clark is an interesting gal. She's quite the three-point shooter. She's
well, that's true.
She is an unbelievable athlete, and yet she's been every time she's on the court, she's targeted by the other team. They actually use people to foul out by taking her out.
I've seen some of that, and that has been really pretty violent. I mean, it's supposed to be basketball, not roller derby.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe this coach may wake up when half of their team refuse to play.
We'll see. It's too bad this has to be a controversy, but it does continue.
Yeah. Well, another little bit of a sad note over the weekend. In fact, it's a big sad note. In-N-Out, which is one of the great places in America to have a hamburger. The restaurant there in Twin Falls had opened barely a week before. It was attacked over the weekend. And a gunman enters the In-N-Out burger and leaves multiple people dead and several injured. In-N-Out President Lindsay Snyder said her heart is broken. She went on to say, "We lost one of our beautiful associates tonight." She said that in the statement that she posted, she was taking care of our most important asset, our customers, and her life was taken by a disgusting human who doesn't value lives or even that of his own. And this gunman went in and opened up fire inside an In-N-Out burger in a restaurant that had only been open about a week there, an In-N-Out burger. This is really, really, really sad, and it's alarming at the same time. They had a fist fight break out in one of their stores the other day as well. But here they have a guy, look at this. They got a picture of him with the gun coming out of the car, okay? Or going back into the car. You kind of wonder, what?
Yeah.
Why isn't somebody yelling and screaming here? But anyway, it's really, really sad. I feel sorry. Christy is, by the way, she took the business over from her late uncle, and she's an unbelievable Christian gal. I mean,
I met her when the In-N-Out opened here. They had a big opening, and she was there.
Yeah.
And we did some interviews, and yeah, she was very accommodating, very nice.
In their cups, they have scripture, around the bottom of the rim of the cup. You can see that. They're a very Christian-oriented organization. And at the Medford store here, if you go in, just to the right, you'll see a brass plate or plaque in the concrete right by the door. That store opened up on the founder's birthday.
Ah, okay.
So they had a special commemorative plaque put right there by the door. So.
It was a big deal when I was there. It was it was as if it was opening the very first store. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was big, primarily because of that day. But the other thing we lost is our palm trees that crossed out front.
Oh, what happened there?
They froze. You can't have
palm trees in Medford.
You can't have palm trees that high in the air when it freezes, I guess, But
yeah.
Anyway.
Try redwoods.
Yeah. Anyway, sad story this morning. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
The Lennox iComfort S30 thermostat can sense changes in your environment. It even knows when you come and go. So now your home's most important system is also the smartest.
Metal Masters can give you the smartest home comfort system available. It knows when you're away and adjusts when allergens and humidity get uncomfortable. Trust Metal Masters to provide perfect air for your family.
Lennox. Air is life. Make it perfect.
Most people have no idea what their money is funding. That's why it's so important to know who you're investing in and what they stand for. At Financial Issues, we help Christians invest with biblical values. Our daily live broadcast covers the economy, markets, and even politics through a financial lens grounded in a biblical worldview. Watch Financial Issues daily at 5 p.m. Pacific Time right here on the Dove.
Millions are struggling with life and their walk with God. Transformed is a groundbreaking series seen right here on the Dove TV that every week takes you behind closed doors to witness biblical counseling with real people facing real issues.
It was common to me to feel like I just wanted to escape.
It could be anxiety, depression, addictions, or other concerns. No issue is taken off the table.
To just get the pain out of my head and out of my heart.
The Bible has answers to life's problems. God's wisdom is better than man's. Lives are changed because God's hope is offered, not just treating the symptoms.
It's through the eyes of faith. Trusting what God says and being willing to obey what God says, even if it's not what you immediately feel.
Join Dr. Greg Gifford and see lives transformed from brokenness to wholeness. Mondays at 8:30 and Thursdays at 5, only on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. Happy, what is today? Monday.
Already, yeah.
All right. Well, listen, a couple things to let you know. Apparently, our governor, Governor Tina Kotek, has decided that directed the Division of Financial Regulations, this is kind of interesting, to immediately stop insurance companies from canceling or non-renewing homeowners' insurance policy for people affected by the Oregon wildfires.
Oh.
Now, this is a big deal. And the problem with these fires now, in addition to the actual fire themselves, and by the way, central and eastern Oregon and all the way up into northeastern Oregon and into Spokane, these fires are raging. Over 1.5 million acres in Oregon. The assets are stretched, and the crews are everywhere. It's unbelievable what's happening. We even had a fire just north of Interstate 5 in the downtown area of Grants Pass over the weekend. And it took in just under 100 acres. They got that pretty much out as of late yesterday. But there's still some power outages there, and it was on a place called Beacon Hill, and we have a tower on Beacon Hill, and we're temporarily off the air with our translator into Grants Pass because of this. But over in Central Oregon, they got all these other things going on, and as a result of this, these insurance companies have a tendency to come in and see a high fire area, raise the rates where you can't afford them, or cancel people. And the governor has stepped in and said, no, you can't do that. Now, I don't know how that works, but it's a good thing if she can make that stick, because this is really a problem. And this even got worse when Senator Jeff Golden announced the fire map. Do you remember that big controversy?
I remember, yeah, this has been ongoing for a few years now.
Yeah, he came up with this fire map, and then it just absolutely went crazy. People were losing their insurances, canceled, the rates were doubling, tripling, homes were just on the line. I mean, it was a big mess, and it was his idea. I don't know, it was a crazy idea. At the end of the day, he ended up voting against his own bill.
I think it was designed not to be used as an insurance issue, but more where you should and shouldn't build. But it got turned into something that
it was bad, to the point where he's not running for re-election. So, the other thing is, Steve, did you ever make it to Depot Bay along the Oregon coast?
I'm trying to remember if I did. You know what? I just don't recall.
The whale watching center there and viewing area, the Depot Bay, is temporarily going to be closed. Now, look at that building. This is an interesting building. This is a post-war era building. It was constructed in 1956 and was added to the National Register in 2012. Well, they're going to close the building temporarily while they re-roof the place, and the promenade deck that goes around it needs to be repaired. But it's one of the most iconic places to go watch the whale migration up and down the Oregon coast. So in the meantime, they hope to have it back open by October. Visitors can still look at the bay or look at what whales may be migrating. At Boiler Bay, Rocky Creek, Cape Foulweather are also scenic areas where you can watch whale watching. But if you've ever seen it, it is really something to see. Okay.
Well, it's good to hear it's just an upgrade.
Yeah, I've seen this.
Maybe they'll put in a coffee kiosk.
Yeah, well, it's an iconic building, and I know whale watching along Oregon's cool. You know, I've seen them even off the coast of Brookings, and it's something to see. It's really amazing thing to see these things migrate.
And getting up a few feet higher so you can look down on it, that's helpful.
There you go.
So, yeah, that's great. Good. I'm glad they're updating it.
Well, the promenade, you know, where you walk and drink coffee and watch whales?
Walk and drink coffee and watch whales. I like your priorities.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the satellite image. Here's what's going on out there. We have activity offshore, but it's not going to do anything. We're heading into a very high-pressure season for about 3 days here, where it's going to really push the temperatures up starting tomorrow. So get ready for that. That's kind of what's going on out there.
Wow. Hey, you may have seen this video. It was of a young kid who's a lifeguard who's saving somebody. Now, you look at this and you go, well, it doesn't look like it's really that bad until you see the waves crashing in on both of them and moving them down the coast. Now, people on the beach were watching all of this. This 10-year-old kid, for whatever reason, he just couldn't get back into land. And so this 16-year-old lifeguard went out to save him. And some other people tried to help, but even that didn't seem to do the job, because as the waves came, they got pushed out of the wave too. Well, all's well that ends well, because the 16-year-old was able to get this kid, this swimmer, out of the water and got some help. Wow. So his name is Ryder Williams. He's now speaking out on the events of that rescue.
I look up and I see a young boy get swept off his feet on a low point on the beach. I start running up the beach as you get pulled out. The challenges for this rescue was that it was so close in, fins were ineffective, I'm seeing waves on the outside. As I grab the child, he goes limp, so I'm thinking about if he's unconscious or not, and that I really need to get him in. The whole time I was thinking I just need to hold my position until my partner can get here, because I'm not going to be able to get him out on my own. Doing the best I can to get a good grip on the child and not get sucked out any further. My partner mostly takes over holding the child, because at this point my arms were very exhausted from holding on. I still support him as much as I can as we drag him out of the water. That is just a part of our daily task to do, to keep the public safe. That's the reason we are on the beach.
What it's like to be a lifeguard in Santa Cruz in Southern California.
Well,
that's terrific.
Think about this. Water's 8 pounds a gallon.
Yeah.
And one of those waves hitting you, that's a lot of weight.
That's a lot of water, yeah.
And it pulls you back out. Going in is one thing, but when it retreats, that's where you get into trouble. And boy, thank God they're all alive today.
Yeah, Ryder Williams saves the day.
There you go.
Yeah.
27 minutes past the hour on this Back at It Monday morning. Very dry conditions, hot weather on tap. Boy, be ready for all this and be careful. It's very, very dry out there. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson along with Melinda Robertson, and we're here to say thank you for your continued support of the Dove.
Because of your faithful support, lives are being changed every hour of the day.
If you'd like to donate safely and securely in helping the Dove spread the gospel, click on the support tab at theDove.us or mail your donation to the Dove at this address.
Thank you for your continuous support of the Dove.
And you can support the Dove today safely and securely online at theDove.us.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian owned and operated, pet friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On site, in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare. Your loved one can spend the day with us and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
Welcome back. Good morning to you. Stephen Perry with you this morning. A lot going on in the news, and we're on the threshold of some hot weather, at least here in the Pacific Northwest, so get ready for it. Today will be very warm. Tomorrow will be hot. It'll be well into the 100-degree range starting tomorrow through Thursday before it starts to back down. So a typical day down there at the Southern Command.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's still hot.
Did you say 109? 109 you had down there?
My car registered over higher than that, but you can never trust that totally. But it was like 109 degrees yesterday. It was ridiculous. People stay in their houses, and the dogs are panting on the floor and that kind of thing.
There you go. All right, here it is, 1:30. Let's check in with CBN News and get the latest.
President Donald Trump is warning Israel not to derail his Gaza reconstruction plan. Today, the Board of Peace reached a historic agreement for the complete disarmament of Hamas and all other armed groups in Gaza. This is a monumental step toward lasting peace and security, Trump wrote on Truth Social. A senior U.S. official says Trump will be very disappointed if Israel blocks the next phase of the 20-point framework that Israel previously accepted. The proposal follows a Hamas approval of a U.S.-backed disarmament plan. Under the framework, Hamas and all other armed groups would surrender their weapons over 8 months to a Palestinian technocratic committee that would replace Hamas as Gaza's governing authority. The plan calls for the destruction of terror tunnels, weapons depots, and weapons factories, with each phase independently verified before moving forward. As disarmament progresses, the IDF would withdraw from Gaza in stages, while an international stabilization force and a new Palestinian police force assume responsibility for security. A senior U.S. official said, "We worked with Israel the whole time. They are skeptical that Hamas will disarm, but not much they can do except see it happen." Israel is demanding the complete disarmament of Hamas, including the removal of weapons from Gaza and the full demilitarization of the Gaza Strip as a precondition for any withdrawal process. Meanwhile, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says it launched strikes on U.S. military bases in Jordan and Kuwait Wednesday, followed by another strike on Kuwait Thursday, targeting fighter aircraft shelters, satellite communication systems, and equipment storage facilities. U.S. officials have not confirmed those claims. The strikes come as the United States and Iran continued exchanging missile attacks on Thursday. Commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz remains largely at a standstill. Also, in southern Lebanon, just 5 miles from the Galilee in Israel, the IDF demolished a massive Hezbollah tunnel system with 700 tons of explosives. It was excavated with Iranian funding and equipped with electricity, water supply, and a fully functional medical operating room. And it served as a command center for Hezbollah and a launch site for anti-tank missiles and explosive drones targeting northern Israel. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, we'll see, huh? I wonder why Israel would consider interfering with that plan unless there's something about it we don't know. So
that it could very well be. We'll have to see. I'll tell you. Stay tuned. In 10 minutes, it could change.
There you go. All right, let's check out the weather for you this morning.
Here's a look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. Across northern Oregon and southern Washington, smoke gives way to sunny skies with highs in the mid to upper 80s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Through the Willamette Valley, smoke, then sunshine in Salem and Albany, both reaching 88. Calm winds for Corvallis and Eugene with daytime highs near 87 this afternoon. Patchy smoke in central Oregon before turning sunny in Prineville near 83, while Bend and Sun River both top out near 79. Boise cools to a high of 85 and a low of 53 later tonight. Along the Oregon coast, sunny weather in Coos Bay near 71 and breezy in Port Orford with gusts as high as 36 miles per hour. Brookings climbs to 72, while Crescent City turns sunny and breezy with a high of 73. Across southern Oregon, patchy smoke clears to sunshine and 95 in Grants Pass. Medford turns sunny and hot with a high of 98. Ashland climbs to 94 and Klamath Falls finishes near 89. In Northern California, sunny and smoky with highs near 95 in Wairika. Sunny and hot for Redding, reaching 108 and Chico 106, while Fort Bragg stays sunny with a high of 67. Around the Bay Area, sunny skies continue with highs near 92 in Santa Rosa, 91 in Napa, 76 in San Francisco, and in San Jose, low 90s with overnight temperatures cooling into the upper 50s. And sunny and triple-digit heat across Central California with a high of 105 in Sacramento through Fresno and Visalia. Stockton and Modesto top out near 104, and Bakersfield sees a daytime high of 106. That's a snapshot of your Monday weather from Grange Co-op.
Well, Jerry's Historical Archives takes us to a phrase we have heard before. You have always heard, if at first you don't succeed,
try again.
There you go. Well, here's a story about a woman who did exactly that.
Talk about refusing to quit. On this day in 1970, 61-year-old Miriam Hargrave of Yorkshire, England, finally passed her driving test on her 40th attempt. For 8 years, she kept coming back to one failed test after another, spending the equivalent of thousands of dollars on lessons, and even wondering if local examiners simply didn't want to be the ones to finally pass her. Then came a surprise. She was taken to a different testing center in Harrogate with just 90 minutes' notice. She climbed behind the wheel, took the test, and at long last heard the words she'd been waiting years for. You passed. 40 tries may sound unbelievable, but Miriam Hargrave proved that persistence can eventually get you where you're going, even if it takes a few extra turns along the way.
The question is, do you want to be on the road with her? Let's face it, it took her 40 times. My confidence level of her driving capability is not very high, but maybe because of all that, she's even a better driver than any of us.
Well, here's one for you. I knew a guy that took the bar exam 20 times.
Really?
Now, would you want him as a lawyer?
Well, he knows the law now, that's for sure.
I think, it could be a phobia of taking tests. It could be that,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Good point.
Yeah, I mean that is a real thing. But on the other hand, I don't.
Well, I knew some people who are very smart, but they don't do well on tests, and vice versa. Other people who you don't think are that great, and then they ace it. So testing is a difficult thing, but I still would. Is that what you ask your lawyers? How many times did it take you to pass the bar? Maybe that should be the opening question.
Well, I mean, it's like going to your doctor. Where did you go to medical school?
Yeah. And why do they still call it practicing medicine?
Yeah,
I want somebody who's not practicing anymore, but has really got it down.
There you go. All right. Well, the fallout from Fauci continues. Great Britain news correspondent Ben Leo spoke with the Australian show called Sarah about Anthony Fauci's effect, not only in the United States, but the global impact that he had around the world. And here's a little bit of that conversation.
I am very happy to testify before any congressional oversight committee. I'm going to do what I need to do, and that is cooperate fully, because we have nothing to hide at all.
Yeah, well, isn't it ironic? From I am the science to I am the silence in just a couple of years. Fauci is now also, by the way, quite funny, if it, disturbing as well, a fan of constitutional rights. When, just 5 or 6 years ago, he was the one who was making up social distancing rules, happy to have 2, 3, 4-year-old children masked in nurseries all across America, in preschools, kindergartens. But that's the thing with the truth. They always say it's the sort of the age-old adage, which is, what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth? Normally, it's about 6 months. In this case, it's 6 years. But Anthony Fauci shouldn't be the only person up for the chopping block when it comes to being quizzed and interrogated on what happened during COVID. As you rightly said, economies destroyed, and they're still feeling the effects now, completely destroyed. Children's education, finance. The United States, for example, they printed a third of their entire US money supply in just 2 years, in just 24 months. And people wonder why the world is now ravaged by inflation. You had in Australia, Shari, the likes of who we called, and maybe you did as well, Dictator Dan Andrews, the Premier of Victoria. He needs to be put forward in front of a committee to answer questions. Chris Whitty, the UK medical chief here in England, who was also pushing all this nonsense as well. The likes of Jacinda Ardern back in the day, who, if you remember, she took to the cameras and said, the only source of truth when it comes to COVID is from the government. Everybody else should be shunned. And this is what Fauci did. He ran a network, a cabal of paid-for cronies and corporations to silence dissenters through fear, with money, through dodgy partnerships, to ensure that only his way of going forward with COVID was acceptable. Anybody else, for example, the authors of the Great Barrington Declaration, which was a worldwide declaration talking about the possibility of herd immunity, everybody who signed that, and indeed Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, was exiled from the scientific community. Again, Fauci said, and what a joke it is now looking back at this, Fauci said, I am the science. He's not the science, he's a liar. He's a weasel. He's got a track record of doing some extraordinary, disgusting experiments. For example, excuse me for the detail on this, but using aborted baby scalps to sew onto the back of mice to see if their hair would grow.
Well, the jury's still out here what's going to happen. I think from what we know, we watched him 111 times declare the fifth during the hearing. That probably didn't do him any good. He's now probably the most hated guy on the planet. The question is he hiding behind statutes? Can he be had? He was given a blanket immunity from President Biden for something that he hadn't been convicted of. So those are those fine lines. But he's only been given federal immunity. He has not been given state immunity. And there seemingly is a coalition of states now thinking about civil action against Dr. Fauci. But back to the federal level, can they get him for contempt of Congress? And that is now what's being weighed. I suspect that the committee in the Senate will vote contempt charges. The question is, does it have to go to the full Senate for some kind of a final vote, or can it be directly pushed over to the DOJ? Who knows?
Yeah.
And the other word that's out there is obstruction. So he obviously is in contempt, but has he obstructed? Because here's the problem. He really hasn't been convicted of anything yet.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really an amazing story.
And I think people still want answers. I mean, it seems more and more as time goes on, COVID came from a lab.
Yeah.
And he kind of waffled on some of these things, and we need answers for the next type of an outbreak that we have. And can we trust anything the government says? It really extends far beyond Fauci, but he's kind of responsible for what he did.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say he is responsible.
It's pretty bad. John O'Connor, I'll play his comments for you when we come back. I had him on the program on Friday. We were talking about it. And he'll look at it a whole lot more pragmatically than we are, because he's a former federal prosecutor. So he'll look at it legally. He doesn't quite have the emotions that we all have, but it's worth taking a look at. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
And I lift my hands in holy devotion to you.
When life feels heavy, your body feels it, your mind feels it. That is why I created Organic Elements Wellness Spa, a place where wellness is not a luxury, it's a way of life. Step into our wellness lounge with a Himalayan salt room, infrared sauna, steam room, and invigorating cold plunge. Restore your nervous system, detox your body, and clear your mind. Then experience customized massage, advanced skin therapies, and result-driven facials, all designed to help you look as good as you feel. There's nothing else like this in Southern Oregon. This is your space to heal, to reset, to glow. Call today to book your private wellness party for up to 15 guests, or surprise someone special with a gift certificate.
Visit Organic Elements Wellness Spa on East Main Street in Medford. Book online at organicelementspa.com. Wellness is wholeness. Voted best of Southern Oregon. Jerry's Historical Archives. Moments to remember. Go back in time. Back in the day. TV shows of the past. Relive the past and learn something new. Open up Jerry's Historical Archives, weekdays only on Mornings on the Dove. Pastor Jack Hibbs, championing religious liberty, a deep love of God, freedom, and America. You may have seen him in the news during COVID as he pushed back against government-mandated church closures. Now you can see him on the Dove TV every weekend on Real Life with Jack Hibbs. Learn, grow in your faith, and impact the world with authentic biblical teaching. Watch Real Life with Jack Hibbs Sundays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. on the Dove TV.
Okay, welcome back. Happy Monday to you. Back at it, quarter before the hour. And of course, the Fauci fallout continues. I don't know where this is all going to go. I think it'll be back into the news here and there. I think one of the disgusts that we feel in America is that when something to this level is uncovered, really nothing happens, you know?
Well, that would be unfortunate, but you could be right, yeah.
Look at all the fraud they have found. What has happened? Look at Minnesota. Look at the fraud up there. What has happened? And I think we do a good job of yelling and screaming and pointing fingers. But at the end of the day, is justice really served in all of this? It appears to be weakening. So I did ask John O'Connor. I said, now he's a former federal prosecutor. He's done civil suits both at the state level and the federal level. He's really quite a guy. He's done some of the biggest cases on the West Coast. And I asked him for his overall take on the hearing with Dr. Fauci, and here's what he had to say.
He really just didn't want to testify because it was so embarrassing. There's no good answers that he could come up with. Think about this. The fellow caused how much, first of all, just in dollars, trillions of dollars that the government spent that we're paying for now with high mortgage rates and so forth. It caused inflation, the Biden's silly COVID Act, Recovery Act. But more than that, think of the millions of lives of these young children and older children that were ruined. We have a good friend whose son committed suicide in his isolation. He was a high school kid, and they're still devastated. And Anthony Fauci did that to them. He knew that this disease, first of all, that he had caused it. He was the one who set up the contract with Wuhan, going around President Obama's edict not to do any more gain-of-function research. He cleverly went around it through third parties and funded it. He funded not a top-level lab in terms of its safety protocols. And then he lied about that to Rand Paul before. He lied about it many times that he didn't fund this. Then he lied about it not being a lab leak. It was a lab leak, and you could tell by the sequence in the virus. There's a CGG sequence that a couple of doctors came out with right away. It showed that it was a splice, an artificial splice in a lab, and Fauci denied that. And as he says on the tape, 10 of his associate scientists all thought it was a lab leak. So you have that. But more importantly, the most important thing was the morbidity. He knew the morbidity was much lower than he was telling the public. He knew that there's no need, for instance, to ever quarantine children or not let them go to school. The teachers are going to have to do what they do, whether the teachers want a mask or something, that's up to them. But it really was not a dangerous thing. We needed herd immunity. If anything, he kept us from having the kind of immunity that we should have in something like this. This ended up being nothing more than a bit more dangerous flu.
Well, the question is, can he be held up for perjury charges? And apparently not.
Well, with what President Biden did and his comments of not saying anything at all, it looks like there's nothing to hold him to those kind of charges that you might want to bring. But like you said, the state, that might show that they can do something as a coalition, perhaps.
Attorney generals at states that felt the impact and felt like that the impact negatively impacted their state, and that's open for, whatever each state had, yes, could file a suit against him as a state. The question is, will the surrounding areas like Virginia, New Jersey, and some of those states in and around Washington be the first? Some said maybe it would be Florida. Ron DeSantis, Governor DeSantis may file. I don't know where this is going to go, but it is obviously now a couple things. Over the weekend, there was a coalition of about 100 scientists that were signing a petition that Dr. Fauci was right. So what you have going on now is the discovery and the challenge. Whose science do you really want to believe?
And one of the arguments made when he was in front of Congress last week was that he didn't want to damage the scientific research group. And so you can see why they would want to support him. because he could be saying science was wrong, and now they are also culpable, at least from the aspect of them having credibility. They could be damaged as well.
Well, this could go a million directions. I mean, even in climate change, if you want to use that term, global warming, all the other terms that they've given it, and the science has been proven, wrong on that. But if you just go down this particular one, but the fact that he was channeling money to the Wuhan lab, and that the leak came out of the lab, it didn't come out of some market from some bat that got into the food like he tried to divert it to. It's pretty bad. And it's proven now that he has consistently lied. So what do you do with this? And I don't know. I would say he may want to move to another country. I don't know.
He could. Yeah.
All right. Let's take a look at. Well, first of all, Bradley Dean's going to be back. Boy, I haven't had him on in a long time. His new book called "Children of the Apostate." Whoa. Okay, we'll talk to him. Joshua Phillip will be back with us. He's quite a guy, and we have a lot to talk about. What's happening around the world, International Crime Court, and. Can you imagine the ICC wants Mandani to arrest Prime Minister Netanyahu?
Yeah, well, they've done some crazy things over the years anyway. That's why they've lost credibility from a lot of countries, really.
There you go.
Well, here's a reminder I've got for you. Some legends never really go out of style.
Items once owned by KFC founder Colonel Harlan Sanders brought big money at auction, including his famous black clip-on bow tie, which sold for $8,000. His 1964 personal planner, which had many recipe notes, fetched an incredible $30,000, even though it turned out not to contain the famous secret recipe of 11 herbs and spices. Sanders didn't even adopt the iconic white suit, black bow tie, glasses, and goatee until he was building Kentucky Fried Chicken into a worldwide brand. It was a carefully crafted image that made him one of America's very first celebrity chefs. More than 40 years after his death, the Colonel's smile is still recognizable around the globe, proving that great branding and great fried chicken can stand the test of time.
And unless they want to go the route of Cracker Barrel, they'd better never change that. That's for sure.
$8,000. It was that. I guess that had to be real. I mean,
You're talking about for the tie itself?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why something like that is being auctioned off.
I don't know
You'd
either.
think that being put it in the first KFC ever made behind glass, but maybe somebody needed to have $8,000 for some reason.
I really find that interesting that they would let that go, unless it's one of many that he had. And then the diary? Really?
Right. Well, it didn't have the famous recipe, as Jerry said, but still, there were some notes on things. Maybe how long you should bake something or whatever. I mean, who knows what's on there? Maybe somebody who owns Jack in the Box bought it. That could be, so they can look at some of the other. Maybe we can gain something from this. Let's face it.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I don't think they would do that, but they could.
Oh, I don't think so. Well, it's iconic that it got bought out. Colonel Sanders got bought out by the people that had Pizza Hut and all that. There was a
quite a while ago, a long time ago, while he was still alive. Yeah.
Really? Okay. So and they had the regular and the crispy, and then they had the grilled, and they dropped the grilled.
And they also used to have barbecue, and they dropped that, and that was my favorite. I love the barbecue. I don't know why they dropped it. It was I kept asking when I'd go through the line there, the in and out line, drive through, when are you going to come back with that? Oh, we don't know. It was wonderful. It was great. Got your hands all sticky, but it was terrific.
Well, I hope they survive.
Let's face it, the original is the best anyway. Crunchy.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Any idea what the 11 spices and herbs are?
I don't know. You and I could make up our own, and it'd be terrible.
Well, here's the other thing. Is it real? I mean,
that's
are
a
they
good
really
question.
in a vault somewhere? Or was it
I'll bet so.
Or was it a campaign thing?
Right next to the Coca-Cola recipe.
For the original, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Which I think had cocaine in it. That's how we got the name Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Okay.
They did change that after a while.
For all you cocaine fans. All right, take this with you today. Psalm 120, verse 1. In my distress, I called to the Lord, and he answered me. All right, you can read a lot of books, hear a lot of sermons, you can go to a lot of podcasts, but there's nothing like spending time alone with the Lord and let him talk to you. Take a walk by yourself today and talk to him. We'll be right back.
Lifted up, he defeated the grave. Raised to life, our God is able. In his name, we overcome.
The world has a view, but God has the vision. An inspirational talk show blending heartfelt storytelling with practical insight to help you live with clarity, compassion, and vision. Join Alveda King Tuesdays on theDove TV.
Orthodox Christianity has existed for 2,000 years. Yet many people know very little about its history, its worship, or the ancient Christian faith it preserves. Hi, I'm Paulina Leiser. Join me each week as we explore the beauty and depth of this historic Christian tradition and its place in the modern world.
Don't miss The Ancient Church, conversations about Orthodox Christianity. Sundays at 6 p.m. on theDove TV. In a world desperately seeking truth, Cliff Connectley and his son Stuart travel across the U.S. to give an answer for questions, doubts, and challenges concerning faith.
What is the evidence that Muhammad spoke the truth? What is the evidence that Jesus Christ spoke the truth?
Their mission is to ignite a passion for truth, guide individuals to embrace faith, and help people find purpose. Engaging skeptics.
It kind of sounds like then that God punished us. The vast majority of chaos in nature is a direct result of God stepping back.
They're driven by a deep commitment for spreading the message of Christ to a world who needs it.
But you see, what Satan has done is he's put doubt in our mind.
Join them as they strive to make a lasting impact on lives and hearts, sharing the love of Jesus with an unwavering dedication.
Because God loves you, and God has given you gifts.
Watch Give Me an Answer, weekdays at 3 on theDove TV.
A ministry moment on the Dove.
And are you willing to say yes to the claims of Christ, that he is the Son of God, and that you want him to come into your heart and forgive your sins, and you want to know it? Oh, I know. Many of you have been baptized and confirmed. Most of you perhaps are members of some church, or you're identified with a church, or maybe you go to church 2 or 3 times a year. I don't know whether you do or not, but I'm sure a lot of you do. But you're not sure. You couldn't stand here tonight and say, I know my sins are forgiven. I know I'm going to heaven. God is willing to forgive all your past tonight because of the cross. God is willing to say, I forgive you because he loves you. And God is interested in you as though you were the only person in the whole world. And you can receive him tonight.
Relive treasured and classic Billy Graham moments of the past, Fridays and Saturdays on theDove TV, encouraging and informative. Good morning. You're tuned to the Dove, encouraging and informative, helping Oregon, Northern California, Idaho, and Nevada start the day with news and encouragement. This is Mornings on the Dove.
Well, good morning to you. Happy Monday. Welcome to Mornings on the Dove, and joined with Steve Johnson with us this morning down there at the Southern Command where it's nice and cool.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, nice and cool.
109.
Yeah, if you adjust the thermostat, it's nice and cool.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we're going to have some of the Tucson heat here this week, so we're getting ready for that. Anyway, good morning to you. A ton going on in the news this morning. We'll do our best to get you caught up on all of that. Weather-wise, like I said, it's going to be hot. Still some very serious fire conditions over in eastern Oregon, northeastern Oregon, even up around Spokane. It's just amazing what's happening with the wildfires this year. We'll do our best to kind of get you updated on that. So in the meantime, it's Monday. Anything special?
Hey, it's Watermelon Day.
Oh.
Now that's going to keep you cool. At least it should for those who like watermelon, which is most people. But as you mentioned last hour, Perry, we have met some people who don't like it, which I don't know. Is it the flavor? Is it the texture? What's the deal? There's not much of a flavor of watermelon.
Well, it's just all water.
I know. It's wonderful. It's a great way to transport water in a big green ball. I don't know. It's wonderful, and it'll lower the temperature in your mind by 10 degrees or so. Yeah. It's also Nut Day, which could be Perry and Steve Day, but it's different kind of nuts that we're talking about, like pistachios. I like those. Peanuts and cashews and all that stuff. And I guess the idea is to eat them in moderation, otherwise you can kind of get fat on them. But there you go. It's those two things. I'll vie for the watermelon today. I like it.
Well, there's nothing tastes good like a stolen watermelon.
A stolen watermelon. Don't you have a stolen watermelon story? I think you do. Yeah. You mentioned that when you were in Sacramento as a
When I was a kid,
child.
My brother and I and friends, we would swim up the irrigation canal.
Yes.
And literally steal the watermelons out of a neighbor's watermelon patch, and then we'd throw them over into the ditch because they floated, and then we pushed them back up to our place.
You had a whole system there.
Oh, yeah. And we actually had to go through a culvert, too. And so we pushed them back up, and then we'd sit on the bank of the levee and eat this stolen watermelon, and nothing tasted better until we got caught.
Yes, and who was the one who caught you? Was it your mother who said, "Where did you get those watermelons?"
The neighbor watched the whole thing from the porch of his house.
And then told your parents?
And called, yes. Okay.
That was back in the day of telegraphs.
Yeah, but he was also the kind of guy. He was also the kind of guy, excuse me, that would shoot a shotgun in the air just to scare us. And that worked too. Oh. Yeah.
I would think it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I survived that. I didn't serve any time for it, and
good.
But I did get punished in other ways. Anyways, nothing like a good old stolen watermelon. Tastes really good. That and pomegranates. Wow. We did pomegranates too. All right. Good morning to you. Let's check out the weather. Here's what's going on.
Here's a look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. Across northern Oregon and southern Washington, smoke gives way to sunny skies with highs in the mid to upper 80s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Through the Willamette Valley, smoke, then sunshine in Salem and Albany, both reaching 88. Calm winds for Corvallis and Eugene with daytime highs near 87 this afternoon. Patchy smoke in central Oregon before turning sunny in Prineville near 83, while Bend and Sun River both top out near 79. Boise cools to a high of 85 and a low of 53 later tonight. Along the Oregon coast, sunny weather in Coos Bay near 71 and breezy in Port Orford with gusts as high as 36 miles per hour. Brookings climbs to 72, while Crescent City turns sunny and breezy with a high of 73. Across southern Oregon, patchy smoke clears to sunshine and 95 in Grants Pass. Medford turns sunny and hot with a high of 98. Ashland climbs to 94 and Klamath Falls finishes near 89. In Northern California, sunny and smoky with highs near 95 in Wairika. Sunny and hot for Redding, reaching 108 and Chico 106, while Fort Bragg stays sunny with a high of 67. Around the Bay Area, sunny skies continue with highs near 92 in Santa Rosa, 91 in Napa, 76 in San Francisco, and in San Jose, low 90s with overnight temperatures cooling into the upper 50s. And sunny and triple-digit heat across Central California with a high of 105 in Sacramento through Fresno and Visalia. Stockton and Modesto top out near 104, and Bakersfield sees a daytime high of 106. That's a snapshot of your Monday weather from Grange Co-op.
All right, there we go. There's a picture of the valley, west to east. Nope, excuse me, east to west. Sorry about that. That's looking directly west, and the shadow of the mountain, and you can see how dry it is. Be careful out there.
Yeah. Well, it's a Monday. You might have a tough week ahead, or maybe you don't know if it's going to be tough, and it ends up being that way. Well, Johnny Erickson Tata says you can face any trial you may be seeing today or this week head on, because Jesus, also known as the Lion of Judah, is greater than any adversary.
Hi, I'm Johnny. You know, I remember as a kid reading the story of David, the shepherd boy, and it says in scripture, he says, quote, "When a lion came and carried off a sheep from the field, I went after it." Like, I thought, a boy going after a lion? Well, many years later, I now understand the lesson. It's all about the way David went after the lions in his life. He didn't run away from them. He pursued them. And the childlike courage of this boy tells me not to be afraid of my adversary, that roaring lion, the devil, seeking whom he might devour. Now, the lesson of David teaches me to be brave when lion-sized trials come looking to destroy my faith or tear apart my peace of mind. Friends, you can face trials head on, because each trial gives you a chance to show an unbelieving, skeptical world that Jesus, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, is greater than all your adversaries. In him, you are strong. You're an overcomer. You're victorious. Are you fearful of that trial lurking in the shadows? Then dare to be a David. Go after it in the name of Jesus, and in his authority and power, Jesus, the Son of David.
Wow. Do you run to the lions, or do you run away from the lions of your life? Of course, in Steve's case, they sit on his lap.
And you pet them.
You pet them. All right, good morning to you. Let's take a look at some of the top stories out there. And there is a lot going on in the news. As we speak, the president has canceled the attacks on Iran. It was going to, according to him, be one of the biggest attacks, probably bigger than anything we saw during World War II. But in the meantime, he was asked by several countries not to do that. UAE, Saudi Arabia, or just a few. Iran itself, they said, please hold off. He did. And in the meantime, he said that we want the Straits of Hormuz to be Hormuz back open. And he said, quote, we would include an immediate and complete and total opening of the Hormuz, Straits of Hormuz, and we'll see how that goes. Supposedly that's going to happen immediately. We've heard all of that before. But in the meantime, the reaction to this is kind of interesting. Senator John Kennedy responds to the president holding off.
You don't have to be a senior at Caltech to know we only have three choices: escalate, retreat and come home, or maintain the status quo. I would maintain the status quo as long as I could. Sanctions, blockade. I would bomb Pickaxe Mountain and try to reach any fissile material and centrifuges underneath. I don't know whether the president should start a new bombing campaign again, because I don't have the military intelligence. Now, that's a problem too, because it'll cause a lot of pain. It'll cause energy prices to go up and a lot of inflation for the American people. They're all hellish choices. So,
Well-
but for the moment, I'd maintain the status quo.
Those are the options, I guess. What we have. We'll have to wait and see how this all turns out. But we've been at this place before, and the question now is, what is in this proposed get together and talk that would result in denuking Iran? Yet to be seen and yet to be heard. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, Cuba is back in the news. What's going on with that?
Yeah, well, it's one of those areas that, you hear about every once in a while. It hasn't been at the top of the news, but it could begin to be there again because of a report that depicts Cuba as a capital of communism. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed the findings of that report. He says are true.
If you look at the history of espionage in the United States, Cuba is the only country that consistently has implanted and embedded spies in our system without even paying them. We had an ambassador, a U.S. ambassador, who ended up being a Cuban spy and was recently convicted. We've had them penetrate the highest levels of the Defense Intelligence Agency. Ana Belén Montes was one of the single biggest intelligence failures on the part of the United States and one of the biggest penetrations we've ever had in our system. So, and then on the influence front, if you look all throughout Latin America, every communist left-wing insurgency that's destabilized governments across the region, every single one of them over the last 40, 50 years has found its support, its help, in many cases its birth from a Cuban influence operation. So it was an important report just to highlight the role they play in our country, a very negative role.
Well, we'll see. It's another hot spot. It has been in the past, and it looks like it could be again. And of course, a lot of people in Florida come from Cuban families who escaped that area, and they certainly support what Marco, if I can call him that, is saying.
All right. In the meantime, basketball, women's basketball.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
Well, this is getting kind of crazy because what you seem to be having develop are players who are saying, you know what, it's not fair to have males play in the WNBA against us. But you have coaches who are saying, oh, wait a minute, we have to have rights for trans kids who want to do exactly that. It's kind of crazy. Well, Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark, they're kind of buddies, and they have stated they don't want men in women's sports. But their coach, Stephanie White, says she's not really qualified to even talk about that.
I don't ever believe that exclusion is an answer. I just don't. I do think, when we think about various levels of sport, various governing bodies of sport and things that go into that, like I said, I'm not educated enough at the different levels. I know growing up, I played with the boys all the time.
So
there weren't girl sports.
Would you welcome a biological male in WNBA?
Again, it's like, I don't know. When we talk about biological male and scientifically where we are, I think it's a totally different scenario.
I think a lot of people can figure that out, though, already. This isn't as complicated as she thinks. But it's kind of interesting and there's another coach also who seemed to be, she wore a T-shirt that said she supported trans individuals, and so that would show that she's in favor of having biological males in the WNBA. So kind of a weird thing. You have the coaches on one side and you have the players that seem to be developing a view that's the opposite on the other.
I'm trying to think in my mind. I guess it's hard to be, you're almost condemned for being practical. But what?
Well, I think for a lot of people, they're saying, why are you making something complicated that isn't that complicated? In fact, the Supreme Court, we thought, didn't they put an end to all of this by saying you don't have to have biological males in women's sports?
Well, I think that was in school sports. Now, this is professional.
Yeah.
I don't know. Why would a coach want this? Why would a
being
coach?
Politically correct, maybe. Maybe that's all it is.
Unless that coach in herself wants a biological male playing on her team.
Oh, well, now there's another thing. That could be.
Maybe she's got somebody in mind that she wants on her team.
Who's a biological male? What does that do, though, about Women's National Basketball Association? It kind of turns it into a free-for-all for anybody.
Well, yeah, okay, I don't know. I've been watching this gal Clark, who's an unbelievable player, get banged around on the court. And fouled. They actually put people on the opposite team in to do nothing to foul out to see if they can hurt her.
Yeah.
And she's an amazing player, and her three-point averages are like a zillion %. I mean, she's just off the charts accurate with her three-point accuracy. But I don't understand what's happening with women's basketball and why they would do that. And will it do anything to the overall sports itself? Will people not want to go? Will the team members sooner or later be forced to quit? I mean, what's going to happen here?
Yeah. Stay tuned. We'll let you know.
Okay, 1:15 the hour. The other story that happened over the weekend, really, really sad, and that this restaurant had only been open barely a week, and we're talking about the In-N-Out hamburger place in Twin Falls, and wasn't open less than a week when a gunman went in and killed a bunch of people and left. And then he himself apparently took his own life. But this is really bad. And Lindsay Snyder, who is the president of In-N-Out Burger, she says she's heartbroken. She put out the statement that says, we lost one of the beautiful associates tonight. She said in a statement that she had posted on social media, she was taking care of our most important asset, our customers, and her life was taken by a disgusting human who doesn't value the lives of others or his own. And they actually had footage of this guy. Well, that's the policeman. They had footage of this guy with the gun. There he is. Yeah. You kind of go, wow. What's going on?
And apparently he was surprised that 2 bystanders shot back at him. Again, this may be a call for some people to say this is why we need to have the rights of citizens to be able to carry guns so that they can take out somebody like this.
Well, we don't know the motive yet. Here it is, a brand new franchise opening less than a week, and then have this happen. Lindsay Snyder is really quite the Christian gal. She took over the leadership of the company from her late uncle, has done a marvelous job. They're very clear in their witness for Christ. They post scriptures around the rim of the bottom of their cups. They run a very tight ship all the way around. And the one here in Medford has a little bit of a distinction because right at the door as you go in, over to the right, down on the sidewalk, embedded is a brass plaque there, recognizing that franchise opened up on the founder's birthday. And you were there for that, so. Yeah.
I was. A lot of people showed up. This was a big move for Medford, yeah?
Well, thoughts and prayers there. Gosh, you know.
Yeah.
And an In-N-Out Burger. All right, those are some of the top stories on this Back at It Monday morning. We'll take a quick, nuts and watermelon break. We'll be right back.
I'm holding on to the center of your love.
The Salvation Army fleet of vehicles is critical to providing essential services in our community, from picking up food for our food pantry to taking kids to camp and youth programming. We rely on Kelly's Automotive to keep us on the road so we can continue to provide the needs of our community 365 days a year. We can't do that without our fleet of vehicles in Kelly's Automotive.
If you don't drive it, donate it. By supporting us, you'll get even more mileage out of it.
Thank you from the Dove TV, Jerry's Historical Archives, U.S. History, Great Moments in Time, Record Breakers, Our Music Through the Years, Historic Leaders, Moments to Remember, Go Back in Time, Back in the Day, TV Shows of the Past, Nostalgia.
It's a wonderful trip down memory lane with fun and interesting stories you might not know about. Relive the past and learn something new.
Open up Jerry's Historical Archives, weekdays only on Mornings on the Dove.
Well, welcome back. Happy Monday to you. Stephen Perry here. Got a lot going on in the news. A little backyard news. The fires in the state of Oregon are just amazing. What's happening now is well over 1.5 million acres burned in the state of Oregon, burning. and up around Spokane as well. Just to give you a little bit of an idea, the Roe Creek Complex Fire, which is a variety of fires together, 320,000 acres. 53%. The Hay Creek Fire, Complex Fire, 200,000 acres. They're getting a pretty good handle on that one, 98%. There's one over on the east side there, the Shingles Fire, 70,000 acres. Those are just a few that I'm mentioning there in central and northeastern Oregon. If you go up around Spokane, there's a bunch of fires up there. What they call I think it's called the Kaiser Complex Fire, just in and around Spokane, is 137,000 acres. And neighborhoods in and around Spokane are now evacuating. We had a bad one this weekend, but they got on it pretty fast, but it was really quite alarming. And it was on the north side of the freeway, right in Grants Pass. And I think they got it pretty much under control, just under 100 acres. But there were level 3 evacuations. People had to get out of their houses. It's on a place called Beacon Hill, and we actually have a translator on that hill. We're temporarily off the air because of it. They had to shut all the power down, but they got a handle of that. So we are extreme, and I underline the word extreme, fire danger throughout the entire state of Oregon. And even in our own backyard here, we are really, really dry. And and the people that are fighting these fires, the assets that go from airplanes to personnel to all the support groups is limited, and they're spread out pretty thin, and it seems to be endless. And guess what? This is just the beginning of August. Wow.
Yeah.
So we have August and September to get through, which can be pretty amazing. So keep an eye on that. Part of that story is that the governor of the state of Oregon, Governor Kotek, directed the Division of Finance Regulation to immediately stop insurance companies from canceling or non-renewing homeowners' insurance policies for people affected by fires in the state of Oregon. It's a big deal. And this was a messy deal that came out of Senator Golden's fire map that he tried to do. It was just a horrendous mistake. And he ended up voting against it at the end of the day. But he was trying to do something. It was typical liberalism on steroids. And a lot of people lost their insurance. Their insurance got doubled. It was a mess, a huge mess. And so in the meantime, she's stepping in, which is a good thing. The governor's stepping in. So we'll see how this holds, if insurance companies can be held to honoring insurance policies. I don't know how all that works. That's where the attorneys come in. Yeah. So, in the meantime, if you're a whale watcher, it's one of the things that people do along the Oregon coast during the season, but get ready for that. In the meantime, one of the iconic places to watch the migration of whales is there at what they call Depot Bay, and it's the post-war era building. It's really kind of a unique building. It was constructed in 1956 and was added to the National Register in 2012. It's going to be closed for a little while they redo the roof and the promenade deck that goes around the outside, where people like Steve have a cup of coffee and go out there and stand and watch the whales migrate. So there are other places, Boiler Bay, Rocky Creek, Cape Foulweather, just a few other places you can go. But hopefully they'll get this all done and reopen in October so you can watch the whale migration. Really fun to watch. I've seen them even in Brookings. It's really a scene to see. So, and by the way, do you remember all the windmills they wanted to put off the state of Oregon, the shoreline there?
There has been talk of that, yes.
Well, one of the pushbacks was that it interfered with the whale migration.
Interesting.
Now, can you imagine the windmill going around out there? First of all, I never did figure out how the power that supposedly they were going to generate it, how they got it back to land. I don't know how they were big extension cords. I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
Or portable batteries. I don't know. But here's the other deal. Whales are very sensitive to sound.
That's true. Yeah.
So would the windmill itself create a sound that would interfere with their communication?
I think that's a valid concern, and the vibration and the sound that it would make, and the structure having to be anchored to the bottom of the ocean floor there, You know, I never heard that discussed much, but I think that would be a valid thing. But you'd have to do a study somehow to figure that out. And I don't know that
I think some of that funding got pulled by the president because he's not big on windmills. Solar panels is another deal, but windmills, the ROI on windmills seem to be way out there.
I think we figured out it was a few years before you have to start replacing the big propeller blades, and they're huge.
They're huge, yeah. All right, let's take a look at Wall Street for a Monday morning. And thank you, Preston at Smart Lawn. He helps us bring these numbers to you every weekday. Thank you, Preston and Smart Lawn. The Dow's up 693 points this morning. I'm sure that has a lot to do with not bombing Iran. The Nasdaq jumped up 331 points. And the S&P, which kind of drives everything, up 73, almost 74 points. So big green ink this morning at the ringing of the bell. That's taken gold down a little bit, 4,084. Silver's down to 57, but here's the number you want down. Crude oil's down to $83.21 a barrel. That's a little over a $10 drop. So anyway, that's how reactionary and emotional the big board is.
I'm going to run out and check the price at the pump and see if it's gone down an equal amount.
You may want to wait one day.
You might. That might be a good idea.
Okay.
Well, here's a guy who didn't wait at all, and it's a good thing he didn't. He was a lifeguard in Santa Cruz. You might have seen this video where he was pulling somebody out of the water. Well, that somebody was like a 10-year-old kid, and the problem is that even for a lifeguard, this is difficult because he's not that far off the actual sand, but the waves are huge. Santa Cruz is known for surfing.
Right.
And in this area, he just kept holding on, didn't know about the 10-year-old, what his condition was. He was kind of limp. I mean, you can imagine he was exhausted, but so was the lifeguard. His name is Ryder Williams, and he spoke out about that amazing rescue last week.
I look up and I see a young boy get swept off his feet on a low point on the beach. I start running up the beach as you get pulled out. The challenges for this rescue was that it was so close in, fins were ineffective. I'm seeing waves on the outside. As I grab the child, he goes limp, so I'm thinking about if he's unconscious or not, and that I really need to get us in. The whole time I was thinking I just need to hold my position until my partner can get here because I'm not going to be able to get him out on my own. Doing the best I can to get a good grip on the child and not get sucked out any further. My partner mostly takes over holding the child because at this point my arms were very exhausted from holding on. I still support him as much as I can as we drag him out of the water. That is just a part of our daily task to do to keep the public safe. That's the reason we are on the beach.
Amazing. 16-year-old lifeguard. I'll tell you, he's the guy you want to have watching when you're out there swimming, and if you get caught in a riptide or something like that. That's pretty amazing.
Well, it just shows you they weren't that far from the beach. Those waves are huge, and when they crashed, what do? They immediately go back out.
Right.
And when you're talking waves that size, think about this: water is 8 pounds a gallon, and if you have 100 gallons coming at you, what do you do with that? You know.
Absolutely, that's terrific. A good reminder for all of us is we're out maybe this summer, and you go, "Oh, nice waves." Well, be aware of the surroundings. Jerry.
There you go. All right, those are some of the top stories. 28 past the hour. We'll take a quick watermelon break. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson along with Melinda Robertson, and we're here to say thank you for your continued support of the Dove.
Because of your faithful support, lives are being changed every hour of the day.
If you'd like to donate safely and securely in helping the Dove spread the gospel, click on the support tab at theDove.us or mail your donation to the Dove at this address.
Thank you for your continuous support of the Dove.
And you can support the Dove today safely and securely online at theDove.us.
Your yard is where life happens, but it can be muddy and hard to maintain. Enjoy a maintenance-free artificial turf lawn all year round with Smart Lawn LLC. No mowing, no fertilizing, no watering. Our synthetic grass is beautiful and resilient. It's certified to be lead-free and there's no need for pesticides. Safe for your children and pets. Smart Lawn LLC has all your artificial turf and putting green areas covered beautifully. 541-941-3538.
Pastor Jack Hibbs, championing religious liberty, a deep love of God, freedom, and America.
That liberty is God-given, not government-granted.
You may have seen him in the news during COVID as he pushed back against government-mandated church closures. Now you can see him on theDove TV every weekend on Real Life with Jack Hibbs.
You and I cannot afford to be casual about what God has actually said in His Word regarding the future.
Learn, grow in your faith, and impact the world with authentic biblical teaching.
The Bible warns us to avoid private interpretations.
Jack challenges today's generation to understand and practice the biblical worldview, verse by verse, addressing key cultural and daily life issues. Deepen your walk with Christ to make an effective impact on your world. Don't miss Real Life with Jack Hibbs, Sundays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. on theDove TV.
Hi, good morning. 29 minutes before the hour. The big story of the day, apparently the biggest attack ever, response was called off over Iran. The president called it off as it was a request from several surrounding companies, UAE, also Saudi Arabia, let's see who else, Iran. And so they've held everything off. What does that mean? They hopefully are now going into talks again. So let's check in with our friend Chris Mitchell with CBN News and get the latest.
On Air Force One, President Trump explained why he called off the attack.
I was asked to by Saudi Arabia, by UAE, by Qatar, and by Iran. We were all set to go just about at this time right now, and there would have been a massive attack. We were all set to go, but when the allies ask to call it off, you got to sort of say, well, let's see. And the reason they asked is I think there's a deal.
On Truth Social, Trump said any agreement must include two key elements: the immediate, complete, and total opening of the Hormuz Strait and an end to Iran's nuclear threat. Iran quickly pushed back. Its military denied asking President Trump to halt the strikes and insisted its forces remain on high alert, and said talks with Oman are focused on the future management of the Strait of Hormuz. Trump said negotiations will begin on Monday. Appearing on NBC News' Meet the Press, Republican Senator John Kennedy cautioned the president.
He has to remember that the Iranian government learned to lie before they learned to talk. And they're more than mildly insane. Dealing with them is like dealing with Son of Sam or Charles Manson. Whatever he does, do not release the sanctions, stopping their sale of oil, or remove the blockade until we see Iran take firm actions to open the strait.
Reports indicate Israel was expected to play a role in the planned operation. One official said if the strikes do not significantly damage the regime or its economic base, the attack would have little strategic value. Former IDF spokesman Jonathan Conricus told CBN News one of the biggest surprises has been the regime's vulnerability.
How weak Iran is, how weak the Iranian regime is, what a paper tiger they are. I wasn't surprised by their cruelty towards their own people, wasn't surprised by how they have lashed out at other Arabs. I am surprised how penetrable, how exposed the Iranian regime is.
While analysts are debating the military and political implications, some Christian leaders believe an even deeper spiritual struggle is taking place.
We are dealing with ancient spirits, as you know, in the Middle East, the Prince of Persia, that has controlled geographic areas that are vast. And we have to remember this is where it all began. And so the enemy does not want to give up this territory and will fight.
Cindy Jacobs of Generals International said the key is regime change.
And the battle is over that. And I believe that Iran is the hinge pin. And once it changes, the whole Middle East will change.
Whether these negotiations lead to a lasting agreement or only a temporary pause, leaders across the Middle East know the coming days could determine whether the region moves toward diplomacy or back to war. Ephraim?
Well, Chris, as you said, President Donald Trump says diplomacy is back on the table. Do people in Israel, though, believe Iran is serious about negotiating this time around?
Well, Ephraim, with all due respect to President Trump, they've seen this movie before. Israelis have seen negotiations with Iran. For example, they watched negotiations years ago with the JCPOA. That was back in 2015, and they believe that was just delaying what they wanted to do with their nuclear program. Some compared it to that Peanuts comic strip where Lucy continues to put the football in front of Charlie Brown, but she keeps removing it. So most here believe that Iran is just using the talks to buy time. They judge Iran by actions, not by their promises, and they don't believe the core ideology or the theology of the regime has changed any, and they believe it's the threat of force that really has led the negotiations back to the table, but not any change of heart. So the key issue here in Israel remains preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon and eliminating any existential threat to the Jewish state.
One of the conditions President Trump mentioned is reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Why is this so important?
Well, we've reported on this before, Ephraim, but it bears, reminding people that roughly 1/5 of the world's oil passes through the strait. That affects global energy prices, and that has a direct impact on the price of gas at the pump. The Gulf Arab nations, they have a major stake in the free flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Nevertheless, they are working on alternatives. One big alternative is expanding what's called the East-West oil pipeline that runs through the eastern oil fields of Saudi Arabia all the way to the Red Sea. That carries up to 7 million barrels a day. But that simply doesn't replace the strait, and that can be subject to attacks by the Houthis in the Red Sea. The UAE has one pipeline in place, and they're building a second, but these and other alternatives may not fully replace all that oil flow through the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, it sounds like from that report, this is just another delay. That Iran's getting a little pause here because they've been hammered so much, but doesn't seem to be.
We've seen this before. Yeah.
We'll see. They're supposed to go to talks today. We'll see how serious it is, but there was another little piece in there I caught, and that was that Israel was going to be involved in this last go-around of attacks. They've been staying out of it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
It was going to be a big one. Who knows who would have been involved that way?
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the weather for you as you're heading out on your Monday.
Here's a look at today's weather from Grange Co-op. Across northern Oregon and southern Washington, smoke gives way to sunny skies with highs in the mid to upper 80s for Vancouver, Portland, Wilsonville, and McMinnville. Through the Willamette Valley, smoke, then sunshine in Salem and Albany, both reaching 88. Calm winds for Corvallis and Eugene with daytime highs near 87 this afternoon. Patchy smoke in central Oregon before turning sunny in Prineville near 83, while Bend and Sun River both top out near 79. Boise cools to a high of 85 and a low of 53 later tonight. Along the Oregon coast, sunny weather in Coos Bay near 71 and breezy in Port Orford with gusts as high as 36 miles per hour. Brookings climbs to 72, while Crescent City turns sunny and breezy with a high of 73. Across southern Oregon, patchy smoke clears to sunshine and 95 in Grants Pass. Medford turns sunny and hot with a high of 98. Ashland climbs to 94 and Klamath Falls finishes near 89. In Northern California, sunny and smoky with highs near 95 in Wairika. Sunny and hot for Redding, reaching 108 and Chico 106, while Fort Bragg stays sunny with a high of 67. Around the Bay Area, sunny skies continue with highs near 92 in Santa Rosa, 91 in Napa, was 76 in San Francisco, and in San Jose, low 90s with overnight temperatures cooling into the upper 50s. And sunny and triple-digit heat across Central California with a high of 105 in Sacramento through Fresno and Visalia. Stockton and Modesto top out near 104, and Bakersfield sees a daytime high of 106. That's a snapshot of your Monday weather from Grange Co-op.
Well, from our historical archives, we also employ a phrase you have heard before. If at first you don't succeed, try again, and Jerry tells us why.
Talk about refusing to quit. On this day in 1970, 61-year-old Miriam Hargrave of Yorkshire, England, finally passed her driving test on her 40th attempt. For 8 years, she kept coming back to one failed test after another, spending the equivalent of thousands of dollars on lessons, and even wondering if local examiners simply didn't want to be the ones to finally pass her. Then came a surprise. She was taken to a different testing center in Harrogate with just 90 minutes' notice. She climbed behind the wheel, took the test, and at long last heard the words she'd been waiting years for. You passed. 40 tries may sound unbelievable, but Miriam Hargrave proved that persistence can eventually get you where you're going, even if it takes a few extra turns along the way.
So, Steve, she's now driving for Uber. She wants to pick you up and take you to the airport.
I was going to say, after all those tests, she probably wore out the first car she had, and now she has to buy a new one.
You know
what? You talked the last time asking like attorneys, how many times did it take you to pass the bar?
I remember, well, I'll tell you what, it was my...
Well, I was thinking you might want to ask an Uber driver, how long have you been driving and how long did it take you to get your license?
My first run for Congress, there was an attorney. He was really a wild guy.
Okay.
And he ended up taking the bar exam, I think he said 20 times.
Wow.
Before he passed it. Now, the question is, would you hire him as a lawyer?
He would know the law by then. That's the one positive thing.
He would know the questions on the test by then.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Good clarification there.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. Well, hey, try again. That's good. I remember the first time I flunked my instrument test.
You're talking about flying a plane now,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, I passed all my other ones, but I got up to the instrument one, the first one I flunked. Boy, it really set me back. And so my instructor and I, we went out and we flew. He said, you have no problem flying this thing. You must have a phobia taking a test. I know that. But which, by the way, is a real thing.
That was a paper pen test?
Yeah, you have to take a written, then you have to take a practical, So finally, I passed it, but boy, oh boy. Whew. That first go-around was tough,
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't. Do you have a phobia taking tests?
No, I don't. What I don't like are trick questions. Because, normally you're on a time test.
Yeah.
And so you have a certain amount of time to do it, and you think, am I over-analyzing this question? Sometimes people say, when you do a test, whatever comes to mind first is probably right. Well, that could be because you sit and you think about it too long, and now you're thinking, well, maybe B or C was right when I thought A was right. And I don't know, there's also D. So
I remember
I try to go for whatever the first thing is you think of, that's possibly the right one.
Yeah, I remember the instructor when I flunked it, he comes back, and in those days they tell you what questions you didn't answer correctly. So
okay.
Obviously you want to work on those.
Yeah.
But he said, step away. Let me tell you something about taking a test. He said, for your pilot's license and for your driver's license, think of this. Always answer the question that's the safest answer. In other words, which one enhances safety the most?
Oh, that is good advice to remember.
Yeah, so to remember that.
Good point. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, the fallout from Fauci continues, and such is the case on a correspondent, Ben Leo, there on the Australian show called Sarah, was talking about Fauci and his impact around the world. And boy, and the fallout's amazing. But anyway, let's go over to Australia and get a little bit of their news on Fauci.
I am very happy to testify before any congressional oversight committee. I'm going to do what I need to do, and that is cooperate fully, because we have nothing to hide at all.
Yeah, well, isn't it ironic, from I am the science to I am the silence in just a couple of years? Fauci is now also, by the way, quite funny, if it, disturbing as well, a fan of constitutional rights, when, just 5 or 6 years ago, he was the one who was making up social distancing rules, happy to have 2, 3, 4-year-old children masked in nurseries all across America, in preschools, kindergartens. But that's the thing with the truth. They always say, it's the sort of the age-old adage, which is, what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth? Normally, it's about 6 months. In this case, it's 6 years. But Anthony Fauci shouldn't be the only person up for the chopping block when it comes to being quizzed and interrogated on what happened during COVID. As you rightly said, economies destroyed, and they're still feeling the effects now, completely destroyed. Children's education, finance. The United States, for example, they printed a third of their entire US money supply in just 2 years, in just 24 months. And people wonder why the world is now ravaged by inflation. You had in Australia, Shari, the likes of who we called, and maybe you did as well, Dictator Dan Andrews, the Premier of Victoria. He needs to be put forward in front of a committee to answer questions. Chris Whitty, the UK medical chief here in England, who was also pushing all this nonsense as well. The likes of Jacinda Ardern back in the day, who, if you remember, she took to the cameras and said, the only source of truth when it comes to COVID is from the government. Everybody else should be shunned. And this is what Fauci did. He ran a network, a cabal of paid-for cronies and corporations to silence dissenters through fear, with money, through dodgy partnerships, to ensure that only his way of going forward with COVID was acceptable. Anybody else, for example, the authors of the Great Barrington Declaration, which was a worldwide declaration talking about the possibility of herd immunity, everybody who signed that, and indeed Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, was exiled from the scientific community. Again, Fauci said, and what a joke it is now looking back at this, Fauci said, I am the science. He's not the science, he's a liar. He's a weasel. He's got a track record of doing some extraordinary, disgusting experiments. For example, excuse me for the detail on this, but using aborted baby scalps to sew onto the back of mice to see if their hair would grow.
Well, this is interesting. This is Australia now coming down on them.
Yeah.
And you got other countries now starting to express the fact that they watched that hearing where he took the fifth 111 times. I don't know. The question is, can he be brought up on charges when he's been given a blanket immunity for something that he wasn't charged with? The only other person that got a blanket immunity was Hunter Biden. So those two guys got a blanket immunity. Here's another question. It's now proven that the blanket immunity given to Dr. Fauci was signed by the Autopin. That brings in the Autopin controversy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Coming up, I have a little comment from Dr. Fauci. Excuse me. Let me get all these people right. John O'Connor, who's talking about Dr. Fauci, John O'Connor, a former federal prosecutor, thinks that possibly the contempt charges could stick. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Come fall in love with Northridge Senior Living, where contemporary sunlit interiors meet old world elegance. Walk through our lovely hallways and enjoy the fun staff-led activities. Forge lasting friendships with other residents and our exceptional caregivers. Dine in style. Gather near the fireplace under breathtaking chandeliers. Our reasonably priced apartments are spacious with private balconies. Northridge is Christian-owned and operated, pet-friendly, and only 2 blocks from Asante Rogue Regional Medical Center. On-site, in-home care is available. We also offer senior adult daycare. Your loved one can spend the day with us, and the evenings with you. Northridge Senior Living, your home.
The Dove TV is pleased to announce we're now seen in the San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose area via a new full-power TV station, KEDB, seen on cable, satellite TV, and over-the-air. The Dove TV, encouraging and informative for San Francisco, Oakland, and the San Jose area on new full-power KEDB TV.
Monday.
300 radio.
Take a journey up the mountains and into the jungle.
Wait, we're landing there?
Yes.
Are you serious? Oh, yes. Oh my gosh.
These missionary pilots are going the last mile.
That's sometimes the hardest. But if we don't go the last mile, we won't get there.
And reaching the lost.
We want to go to them. We have to get the gospel to these people.
Monday morning at 11 on the Dove TV.
Welcome back. Stephen Perry here with you this morning, 10 minutes before the hour. As I mentioned, John O'Connor, he's quite a guy. He's a former federal prosecutor. We've become pretty good friends. He's a regular guest on our Focus Today program, and his insight on legal issues, especially as it relates to the Supreme Court and other issues, pretty insightful. And so I did ask him about what's going on with Dr. Fauci, and at the end of the day, when Dr. Fauci got through testifying before the Senate committee, Chairman Paul began to say, all right, we're going to probably end up taking a contempt of Congress vote. And that's expected to pass the committee. Where it goes from there, I don't know if it goes to the full Senate for approval or it goes directly to DOJ. The word obstruction was thrown in there. Is he guilty of obstruction? So I asked John O'Connor, what do you think? And here's what he had to say.
There is an argument he's guilty of contempt. I'll tell you what it is. He did what Lois Lerner did at her hearing. She was the person who slow walked all the conservative 501c3 companies for Obama so that they couldn't participate in the election. What she did and he did was they made a statement in front of Congress, which was testimony, and then they refused to answer questions about that testimony. There is a very good argument that he has waived his Fifth Amendment rights by coming into a forum under subpoena and testifying as to the subject matter, and then refusing then to answer questions, cross-examination about that. Once you testify about something, you are opening the door to cross-examination, and he can be in contempt, and that's the main issue. I don't know that there's any obstruction here. Now, if depending on what his lawyer was doing, I don't know. Maybe he obstructed as well. But I don't think they're going to get the lawyer for anything. But yeah, that's the argument for Fauci.
So if you remember when he was before the Senate committee, he gave an opening statement.
He did, yeah.
Okay, that set him up for contempt because at that point, the Fifth Amendment apparently does not apply when you've been given a blanket immunity. Those privileges now are done away with. And there was one question where Chairman Paul framed the question outside of the territory of the immunity, and he refused to answer that. So it appears to me, from what I understand, and listening to John O'Connor and others, that the contempt charges have legs and they possibly can get him with this.
Wow.
And where that goes, I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. All right, coming up, Joshua Phillips. I've always liked having him. He's an award-winning journalist. He has a show called Crossroads, and the growing conflict between the U.S. sovereignty and the International Criminal Court. Can the USA tell the ICC to take a hike?
I think they have in the past already.
There's
Maybe
another.
they can do it again.
Yeah, well, there's a country way of saying that, but anyway, we'll see. All right, what else you got there?
Good deal. Well, you know what? Sometimes we see stuff. You grow up with a certain image of things, and you realize, you know what? Sometimes legends just never go out of style, and Jerry tells us about one of them.
Items once owned by KFC founder Colonel Harlan Sanders brought big money at auction, including his famous black clip-on bow tie, which sold for $8,000. His 1964 personal planner, which had many recipe notes, fetched an incredible $30,000, even though it turned out not to contain the famous secret recipe of 11 herbs and spices. Sanders didn't even adopt the iconic white suit, black bow tie, glasses, and goatee until he was building Kentucky Fried Chicken into a worldwide brand. It was a carefully crafted image that made him one of America's very first celebrity chefs. More than 40 years after his death, the Colonel's smile is still recognizable around the globe, proving that great branding and great fried chicken can stand the test of time.
Oh boy, once you have great branding, don't mess with it. If it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Hello, Coca-Cola.
Hello, Cracker Barrel.
Hello, Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised
Coca-Cola, too. That's a good point. With their new Coke that they had.
I'm surprised that the family or the company or the museum would let that tie go.
Yeah, I know.
Unless
like you said, though, maybe he had quite a few of them.
That's good. One of many, you know.
Yeah.
So here's another little argument. It was argued at one time that the chicken was never really fried. It was in those boilers.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that. If it wasn't fried, what would it have been?
They went into those pressure fryer boiler things. It wasn't good old frying the chicken in oil, so to speak, you know.
Well, you couldn't tell me the difference when you eat it. It's like, this is from a Southern Baptist picnic.
Was he Southern Baptist? Maybe that we need to find out.
I don't know. He might have been.
Was Colonel Sanders Southern Baptist? Now, there's the question of the day. Well, anyway, in the meantime, they did away with the grilled, which I liked, and you liked the barbecued.
I like the barbecue. You know, the original is great. They better never get rid of that or mess with it.
Yeah.
But, I liked either one of those over the grilled.
All right. All right, good morning to you. Take Psalm 120, verse 1 with you today. In my distress, I called to the Lord. And guess what? He answered me.
Oh.
Well, there you go. So take time to be alone with him today. Don't do it on the run. Be still and know. And talk to him a little bit. And be careful. It's very hot and dry out there.
Yep.
Your property demands equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in. Kubota equipment is ready to get the job done right.
When life feels heavy, your body feels it, your mind feels it. That is why I created Organic Elements Wellness Spa, a place where wellness is not a luxury, it's a way of life. Step into our wellness lounge with a Himalayan salt room, infrared sauna, steam room, and invigorating cold plunge. Restore your nervous system, detox your body, and clear your mind. Then experience customized massage, advanced skin therapies, and result-driven facials, all designed to help you look as good as you feel. There's nothing else like this in Southern Oregon. This is your space to heal, to reset, to glow. Call today to book your private wellness party for up to 15 guests or surprise someone special with a gift certificate.
Visit Organic Elements Wellness Spa on East Main Street in Medford. Book online at organicelementspa.com. Wellness is wholeness, voted best of Southern Oregon. In a time when our culture faces unprecedented challenges,
I want to talk about the role of a Christian, even in a hostile culture.
Christian apologist and evangelist Alex McFarland addresses the hard-hitting questions about faith, morality, and culture.
People are hungry for truth, and we've got to rise to the challenge of our assignment as the church.
Know your faith better to be equipped to defend it in a world searching for answers.
But when you put the face of an earthly man on God, then you're never going to understand who God is.
God takes pleasure in you, and the very sight of you is joy and blessing.
Alex McFarland, inspiring believers through apologetics to boldly stand for truth in a critical time. Catch him Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday on the Dove TV, encouraging and informative. More at thedove.us.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, gonna let it shine. Oh, shine.
Go behind closed doors to witness biblical counseling with real people. Transformed, Monday and Thursday on the Dove TV, encouraging and informative.
Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and I have been so looking forward to our special guest today. I have in front of me just the books that he has written that are in our house, okay? I am delighted to have back with us today Robert Morgan. He's a best-selling author, Bible teacher, teaching pastor there at the Donaldson Fellowship in Nashville, Tennessee. He's written more than 35 books, including The Red Sea Rules, the 100 Bible Verses That Made America, The Lord is My Shepherd. His books have sold more than 4.5 million copies worldwide, and he's known for connecting biblical truth with history and everyday life. He does have a website. RobertJMorgan.com is the website, RobertJMorgan.com. Robert, so good to see you. Let's see here. I want to show you what I have here. These are the ones in our house. Come, let us adore him, Christmas. Great is thy faithfulness. Let's see. This is Then Sings My Soul, 150 of the world's greatest hymns. And then Sings My Soul, Book 3. And I just finished night before last, The Lord is My Shepherd. And I just started last night, The Strength You Need. The only thing I can say is, brother, thank you.
Harry, I need to send you some of our more recent books too. I'll put together a little care package for you.
Well, the only thing I can say is thank you for listening to the Lord and being obedient. This is such great stuff. I so got so much out of this book. Now, I'm a slow reader, and I like being a slow reader, but I have to tell you, I marked this book up like crazy. The Lord is My Shepherd. And last night I read chapter 1 in this one, the strength that you need. And it's interesting, you started the book talking about your own burnout.
Well, yeah, my wife and I, my wife Katrina is in heaven now.
Yeah.
But she was battling multiple sclerosis, and we went through a very difficult time in terms of all of the pressures on us. And she and I both found 12 different passages in the Bible on the subject of strength. And we memorized those verses, and they helped us a lot. But that was that's how that book came about.
Well, I just got through chapter 1, and the verse that is found in Deuteronomy, your strength will equal your days.
Yes.
I had to just stop and camp and think for a while, and I just want to say thank you for bringing that to light.
Well, you know, there's a wonderful hymn. I love the great hymns too, and How Firm a Foundation has that particular verse put into a stanza of that song. In every condition, in sickness and health, in poverty's veil or abounding in wealth, at home or abroad, on the land or the sea, as your days may demand, shall your strength ever be. And I focus on that verse in my own life. As our days are, so our strength shall be.
Wow. So I want to kind of zero in on the Lord is my shepherd. A couple of things. What drew you to this passage of Scripture? What was going on in your life that you took this one on?
Well, when I was in elementary school and the government schools and the public schools, we still memorized scripture. So I memorized Psalm 23. I think it was in the second grade. And I've known it and loved it for years. When I was in college, my pastor preached a series of sermons on the 23rd Psalm. And I thought they were the most wonderful sermons that I'd ever heard. And over the years, as a pastor, I myself preached through the 23rd Psalm. And every time I did, I learned more about it. And when our children were younger, we actually had a flock of sheep that lived in our back meadow. So we did a little shepherding ourselves. And I finally brought all of those experiences together with some deep dives into the text and came up with this book, The Lord is My Shepherd. The title that I wanted for it was The Lord is My Shepherd, and That's Enough. Because there's an old story, Perry, about back in the days when newspapers would put the titles of sermons in the Saturday edition. The reporter called the preacher of the Baptist church and he said, "What's your sermon for tomorrow?" And he said, "The Lord is my shepherd." And the reporter said, "Is that all?" And the pastor said, "That's enough." And so the title of the sermon was "The Lord is My Shepherd, That's Enough." But somehow that didn't make it onto the cover of my book, but that is the theme of Psalm 23.
Well, I can tell you, as an old 4-H'er, I had sheep.
Yeah.
And I got out of the sheep thing quite quickly because they're dumb. And
they can be loving. They can be loving, Terry.
And I went off into bees and horses, which is another story. But have you ever? Do you know Dr. Kevin Lehman? You ever heard of him?
I don't know him personally, but I know of him, yes.
Oh, he's a good friend. He wrote a book called The Way of the Shepherd, and he uses the metaphor of sheep. And it kind of fits what you're talking about here. But I just want to commend you. You and your family and your daughters learned so much from raising the sheep, and you applied it in this book. But the other part of this book that I want people, and for you to kind of zero down on, is what led David to write this? What was going on in his life that he came up with this poem?
I think the most important thing that we can discover about the 23rd Psalm is that it follows the migratory pattern that David would have taken his sheep on every year, and which his family had been doing for 1,000 years. We go back to Genesis 37. I think, Perry, Genesis 37 is the secret for understanding the 23rd Psalm. Joseph is down in Hebron with his father, and his father says, "Go check on your brothers. They are migrating with the sheep." So David goes, Joseph goes all the way up to Shechem, which is a 50-mile journey. And they tell him they're not here. They've gone on to Dothan. So Joseph goes on to Dothan, which is another 25. And you can trace that on the map if you have a Bible map, because sheep, it was too hot in the summer down in Dothan. So every year they would go on this migration. They go on a circle. That's what the 23rd Psalm is. We begin at the Father's house in Hebron, as it were, with green pastures and still waters. And then as the summer begins, we get on the right paths. We follow the shepherd. We go through dark canyons, maybe. We end up on the tablelands. And then eventually we circle back to our Father's house. So the 23rd Psalm is a story of the migration of our lives under the guidance of a very loving, wise, strong, protective shepherd.
Let's deal with the Lord is my shepherd, that's enough.
Well, that's the theme. I mean, it begins by saying, "The Lord is my shepherd, so I have everything that I need. I shall not want." That is the theme. If the Lord is our shepherd, then all of our other needs are going to be met in his timing and in his way. You may have financial needs. You may have relational needs. You may need love in your life or a set of friendships. You may need a husband, a wife. You may need a family. You may need financial help. And we're not passive in all of those things. But Jesus put it this way: seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things will be added to you. The Lord knows you need them. And that really is what Psalm 23 is all about. At all of the different stages in life and the migration of our days, if the Lord is our shepherd, then we will have everything that we need. He will provide for us.
You reference several times stories that you came across of people that recited this in very, very difficult situations. Why is this poem the one that's recited? What is it about the 23rd Psalm that in a very difficult situation somehow it settles the storm?
Oh, yes. I began the book with a remarkable story of a British sailor who was thrown overboard when his ship exploded during World War II. And there in the waters, he recited the 23rd Psalm. And there are so many stories like this. There are a couple of reasons. First of all, it is so beautiful that it is, until our own generation, every generation has memorized it. If you were a child, you just memorized Psalm 23. Sadly, that's not true now, but it has been in every other generation, at least in American history and really in the Judeo-Christian world. Secondly, it's short enough to learn. There's only 6 verses there. But thirdly, Perry, it is very personal. When we say the Lord's Prayer, that is a united prayer. Our Father, give us this day our daily bread. But the 23rd Psalm is me and my and you. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. And in the middle, it actually changes from he to you. It begins by saying, he leads me, he guides me. But then it says, even in the valley of the shadow of death, you are with me. And it changes to first person. So it is beautiful, it is practical, it is short, it is memorable, but it's also very personal. And because it covers the migration of life, there is never a situation we go through, but that we cannot find some help and aid in the 23rd Psalm.
What is the shadow of the valley of death?
I think David was basing this on the Wadi Kelt. Wadi is the Aramaic word or Arabic word for chasm or valley. And so I've been there many, many times between Jericho and Jerusalem. Maybe you've been there. There is this deep valley. It's a gorge. It's very narrow. I've hiked and parts of it. It was the old Jericho road that Jesus would have taken. This is the place where the parable of the Good Samaritan took place. And David, when he migrated with the sheep, would have gone through this dark valley. And I don't think that this is a reference to death. It's called in the King James the valley of the shadow of death, but it really is just a dark valley. And we don't really die in the 23rd Psalm. At the end, we are in our Father's house. We live in the house of the Lord forever. We have eternal life. But along the way, we go through some dark valleys. There are some chasms that we may have to walk through, and they may be frightening. They may be dark. The waters may be raging. There may be predators. There could be bandits there and thieves. There are just certain moments in our lives in which we are scared, we are anxious, we are worried. But there is when we draw closest to our good shepherd. That is when he helps us the most. He is with us in the valley of the shadow.
Beautiful. Let me just say to our viewers and listeners, I got to take a break here, but we got a bunch of them, and we're talking about this book right here. It's called The Lord is My Shepherd by Robert Morgan, and it's available online at bookstores everywhere. And I have to tell you, don't be in a hurry to read this book. Take your time. Soak it in. It'll end up being one of the greatest encouragers you've ever read. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Buying or selling a home can be stressful. It's one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your lifetime. That's why it's important to work with someone you trust, someone who has the right experience and knowledge of the market.
Hi, we're Patrick and Paulina Leiser with Leiser Real Estate Group.
And whether you're looking to buy or sell a home, our mission is to take the stress out of the transaction and make it as seamless and rewarding as possible.
Contact us today. We look forward to working with you.
Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson along with Melinda Robertson, and we're here to say thank you for your continued support of the Dove.
Because of your faithful support, lives are being changed every hour of the day.
If you'd like to donate safely and securely in helping the Dove spread the gospel, click on the support tab at theDove.us or mail your donation to the Dove at this address.
Thank you for your continuous support of the Dove.
And you can support the Dove today safely and securely online at theDove.us.
He's got the whole world in his hands, and he knows the plans for us. Above and beyond we could ask or imagine, his grace is more than enough. It's in his hands, it's in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. Come on, Steve.
Orthodox Christianity has existed for 2,000 years. Yet many people know very little about its history, its worship, or the ancient Christian faith it preserves. Hi, I'm Paulina Leiser. Join me each week as we explore the beauty and depth of this historic Christian tradition and its place in the modern world.
Don't miss The Ancient Church, conversations about Orthodox Christianity, Sundays at 6 p.m. on the Dove TV.
Well, welcome back. No, I'm not at a book show, but I might as well be here. I have Robert Morgan. It's such an honor to have him with us today. Best-selling author, Bible teacher, pastor. These are just some of the books. These are the ones that are in our house, Robert. And I just can't say enough. By the way, the one we're talking about is this one here. It's called The Lord is My Shepherd. It's just phenomenal. This one is, let's see, Come Let Us Adore Him, stories behind most of the cherished Christmas hymns. This one here is called Great is Thy Faithfulness. My wife just got through reading that one. She's a music director, so Then Sings My Soul. This is book 3. There's book 1, which you've done all the old hymns, which is just outstanding. And then I just started this one last night. I only got through chapter 1, and it's called The Strength You Need, the 12 great strength passages of the Bible that he and his wife selected, and just amazing stuff. So again, thank you for your talent and your gift. Gosh, it's just wonderful. A couple things in the 23rd Psalm before I move on to some other topics here. What does it mean to He restores my soul?
Well, this is perpetual revival. If you're like me, and I know some of the people watching and listening are, we get discouraged too easily. We become cast down. There's a lot of things to worry about in life. We have a lot of anxiety. Things don't always happen the way we want them to. And we just get discouraged. And, you know, the psalmist said in another place, "Why are you cast down, O my soul?" And there was a condition that sheep have. We call a sheep a cast sheep or a cast down sheep. If they get stuck on their back, maybe they roll over into a ditch, they get muddy, that thick, heavy wool becomes bogged down, and they can't get back on their feet. They are cast sheep. They are cast down. And it requires the shepherd to come and get them back on their feet. And Perry, many a time in my life, I've been cast down. And through the scripture, through prayer, by the work of the Holy Spirit in my heart, maybe through a good book or a good sermon from someone else, the Lord has put me back on my feet. He doesn't want us to remain discouraged. I think that we cannot help but occasionally be discouraged or disappointed, but we do not need to stay that way. And so when it says He restores my soul, it is telling us that God intends for us to live in perpetual revival. We don't need to be cast down. And when we get discouraged, we shouldn't stay that way. There may be reasons to be cast down, but there are better reasons to be lifted up.
It's beautiful. The other one I want you to comment is actually the very next line. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. I loved your writing on it, but I want you to tell our audience.
I think there are a couple of shades of meaning to that. It means, first of all, that he leads us in the right paths. He knows the way that we should go. I try to work with young adults. I love my young adults. I've got about 20 of them that gather at my house for Bible study. And one of the major subjects is guidance. How do I know what God wants me to do, who he wants me to date, what he wants me to do about college or about a vocation or career or a family? And the Lord guides us. There's so many wonderful hymns of guidance. All the way my Savior leads me, what have I to ask beside? The Lord knows how to guide us in the right paths. But those right paths are also righteous paths. He wants us to live lives of increasing holiness and righteousness and be better and better in our morality and our ethics and the way we go about life and our maturity. The Christian life is one of growth. We have to overcome besetting sins. We have to become people who are more mature, who are better able to handle our tempers and handle the words that we say and the attitudes that we have, who have less and less bitterness and more joy in our life. All of that is increasing holiness. It is becoming more and more like Christ. So he leads me in paths of righteousness means that he leads us in the right paths, but he leads us in paths that are increasingly righteous, in which we are growing and developing in our ability to replicate the person of Christ.
Well, let me say to our viewers and listeners again, this is readily available. You can get this at any of the bookstores or online. It's called The Lord is My Shepherd by Robert Morgan, and let me encourage you to get it. I just finished it. And the only thing I can say, Robert, is thank you. Every line in there that you wrote about, I gleaned a lot from, so thank you.
I'm so happy. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I did pick this one up. I just want to touch on it because I don't want you to give it all away because I just started reading it. But it's called The Strength You Need, dealing with 12 greatest scriptures out of the Bible to get strength from. I've learned in interviewing so many people and things through the days that there is a burnout factor in Christian work, ministry, pastors. You write about that. It's produced a level of cynicism which can be the cancer of the soul if we don't bring it under control, so to speak. How big is the fatigue burnout problem from your perspective in ministry?
I think it's significant, especially in this day and age in which everything is moving so quickly and there's increasing opposition to what we are doing as believers in this world. In my book, 100 Bible Verses That Made America, I talk about the many times in which the Bible has impacted our American history. And we're coming to a point now where we have Marxists who are trying to set the agenda. So everything about ministry and pastoring and serving the Lord and going to church and being a faithful Christian is becoming more difficult. But to me, the reason that I've never succumbed to burnout, even though I've been around the edges of it, is I was taught as a teenager to meet with the Lord every day and have my quiet time, and ministry is overflow. I've never written a book because I sat down to write a book. I've written books or preached sermons because it's the overflow of what God was doing in my own life. And The Strength You Need is a book that basically is just telling the impact of these 12 wonderful passages about strength. Those who wait upon the Lord will renew their strength, and the joy of the Lord is my strength. And I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And these wonderful verses in which God promises to give us strength. I've had to cycle through those verses or maybe it's better to say I've had to let those verses cycle through me many a time. And I think if we do that, if we are meditating on God's word and spending time with him, and we find the strength of his presence in our lives, that is the most powerful force in mitigating burnout.
What does be still and know mean to you?
Well, for me, there's this practice that we've called for the last couple of 100 years. We've called it the quiet time. And I was taught, Billy Graham's wife, Ruth Graham, was one of my mentors, and she taught me to have a little notebook and an open Bible and a desk somewhere and maybe a cup of coffee or a cup of hot tea and just spend time with the Lord, listening to him by reading my Bible in a methodical way and pondering what I was reading there, meditating on it, and then turning it back into prayer. And so to me, that is the most important daily practice when it comes to being still. It's my daily quiet time. But then we need breaks, don't we? I've got to get away occasionally, just to the mountains or to the beach, or maybe I've got to take an afternoon off and just sit in the backyard. And we are so busy. I mean, busy is the middle name of everyone that I know. And we become so busy that our minds are swirling. We feel like the globe is spinning faster and faster, and it's about to fling us off. And sometimes we need to take a hike along a quiet lake or do something and just settle down and do a little something for ourselves in the presence of the Lord. So on a daily basis, it's my quiet time. On an occasional basis, it is just getting away to take stock, to reevaluate, to take a deep breath, and to enjoy life a little bit. God intends for us to enjoy life. He wants us to be full of joy and not full of all of this pressure that we're putting ourselves under all the time.
What would you say to a pastor that doesn't feel what he's preaching?
I just don't really understand that. I was taught to preach from the overflow. The Bible teaches overflow. In Romans chapter 15, verse 13, it says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you will overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit." We are filled so that we will overflow. We're like Multnomah Falls, or a double waterfall, where we're a pool of water and the waterfall is gushing into us, and then what we do is simply overflow. So if a pastor is not operating on that basis, then he needs to stop immediately and recalibrate and say, "Lord, I don't want to just find sermons anymore. I just don't want to do this anymore in the strength of my own flesh or my own personality. I'm running out of strength. I just want to walk with you and let the overflow of my fellowship with you become ministry." There's an old song that says, "Lord, speak to me that I may speak in living echoes of thy tone."
Beautiful. Robert, I could talk to you for hours, but the last question I have for you, what is the overflow in your life today?
Well, I'm just preaching and thinking about Genesis. I'm going through Genesis in my notebook. I told you, Perry, that I've got young adults that come over, and Sunday afternoon, I sat down with my journal and I said, "Lord, I'm too old. I don't think I can attract young adults anymore. I don't think I can impact them. I don't think that I have the magnetism for that, but you do." And then I opened my Bible and my Bible reading to Genesis 41. And Joseph said to Pharaoh, "I cannot do this, but God will." And it's as though I saw right there in the Bible what I just said to the Lord in prayer. And I've sort of been living on that verse for all this week. I cannot do it, but God can.
You're fascinating. Let me say to our viewers and listeners, first of all, go to Robert's website, robertjmorgan.com. Very resourceful. You can see his books online and certainly in most bookstores, obviously. The one that I would really encourage you to start with, if you've never read anything that he's done, is start with this one here, The Lord is My Shepherd. He does an amazing job of bringing back the history and the importance of the hymns. And I have to tell you, Robert, from what I understand, I work with a lot of Christian broadcasters around the world, part of the United Christian Broadcasters Group. We're testing something in New Zealand, of all places. And we took one of our radio formats down there, the people down there did, and they moved it away from, I guess you would say, the contemporary music, not that it's bad, but they moved away more into a praise and worship, and then they inserted a bunch of hymns, the old hymns. And that country isn't very big. It's 4 million people, both islands. And it has taken off like crazy. People have just absorbed it, like, where have these been and why haven't we heard them? And they're so meaningful and they're so yada, yada, yada. So I just want to say thank you for doing that. And if you are into the old songs, the hymns, if I can put it that way, these series of books I think you'll find to be great. He's got one even for Christmas. And then, of course, this one here, Great is Thy Faithfulness. And this is only a few of your 35. So thank you. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Perry. God bless you galore.
Galore. I like that word. Have a wonderful day, friend. God bless you.
Thank you.
Since 1934, Grange Co-op has been more than just a store. We've been a cornerstone of our community, owned by people like you. We proudly offer top-quality farm and ranch supplies, including our own Rogue feed, as well as workwear, Western apparel, garden essentials, and pet care products. By signing up as a Grange Rewards customer, you not only enjoy exclusive benefits like special offers and 1% back on most purchases, but you also become part of something bigger, a cooperative that you own and help shape. Join Grange Rewards today.
Do events in the world leave you confused and scratching your head? A world where up is down and down is up.
I'm Perry Atkinson. Mornings on the Dove knows how you feel. We're here to offer God's hope and encouragement and to help you to sort it all out.
And I'm Jerry Bilden. Mornings on the Dove alerts you to issues and events the mainstream media would rather you not know or know the truth.
A lot in the news today, some movement around in the Middle East, common sense discussions on today's headlines, and rational perspective on what's really going on.
That will leave you better informed and encouraged by the gospel.
In this upside-down world, there's one place you can trust to get it straight.
Check into Mornings on the Dove each day to find out what's really going on and to be encouraged.
Mornings on the Dove, weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. on the Dove TV and radio. Streaming online at thedove.us, Roku, and Apple TV. The Dove, encouraging and informative. Pastor Jack Hibbs, championing religious liberty, a deep love of God, freedom, and America. You may have seen him in the news during COVID as he pushed back against government-mandated church closures. Now you can see him on the Dove TV every weekend on Real Life with Jack Hibbs. Learn, grow in your faith, and impact the world with authentic biblical teaching. Watch Real Life with Jack Hibbs Sundays at 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. on the Dove TV.
Well, welcome back, and very timely to have back with us Joshua Phillip. I always enjoy having him. He's an award-winning investigative journalist and the senior investigative reporter with Epoch Times. He is also the host of Epoch Times television program, Crossroads. He is reporting, focuses on national security, China, and global political affairs. And because he is widely recognized for his early investigation into the origins of COVID-19 and the Wuhan laboratory. So we have a lot to talk to him about. By the way, you can go to theepochtimes.com is the website. And for his show on YouTube, handle at Crossroads with Joshua Phillip. And that is to get his podcast. Joshua, so good to see you again. How are you, friend?
It's a pleasure being back. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Wow, a lot to talk to you about. The ICC, the International Criminal Court, back in the news. Why is this becoming a headache to the United States?
Well, okay. So one of the latest stories on this was, of course, right here in New York. Mayor Mamdani suggested or said that he wanted to have the ICC arrest, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, and then found out he does not have the ability to do that as the mayor of a city. You can't have a foreign leader arrested, and so he published a video basically making his case why he thinks Netanyahu should be arrested. Now that raised a lot of other questions, though, which is, well, does the ICC have jurisdiction in the United States? Could they arrest a foreign leader in the U.S.? Could they even arrest an American leader? The coinciding part with this, though, I think is even more important. So Secretary of State Marco Rubio came out just recently and said the United States is going to dismantle the International Criminal Court brick by brick if necessary. And in his writings, he actually said some pretty crazy things, or pretty surprising things. He suggested that the ICC is planning to arrest American troops, maybe Border Patrol agents, maybe U.S. intel agents, maybe in the future. And if you go back a bit more, I think it gets even bigger. Last year, there were reports, Reuters had it, for example, saying the International Criminal Court, there were concerns in the Trump admin. They were planning to prosecute Trump and other members of the top levels of his government right now when they leave office. Basically in 2029, you're going to see the cases. So according to them, the ICC is planning to arrest American leaders.
Okay. Where's their headquarters?
I'm pretty sure it's in Brussels, but I don't know offhand.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's in Brussels, though.
Second question, do they have a whole force of people that can enforce their laws?
They do. And so Marco Rubio is saying they're going to go after all the member states, any country that hosts them, any country that works with them, any country trying to move forward any operations of the ICC. They're going to be putting pressure on these countries to drop it effectively.
If, hypothetical, I guess, if they decide to come into the United States and arrest somebody, isn't that foreign intrusion?
Well, you'd think. So this is why it's important. A lot of this actually started during the Bush administration. So early on, what had happened, the International Criminal Court launched an investigation into war crimes of American troops. And there were allegations they were going to go after Bush and members of our armed service, our veterans, for war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan. Basically during the Bush administration, they passed a law. And what that did was made it so the ICC cannot do such things, here in the United States. We're not a member state. We don't work with this, and so it made it so they cannot do that. But it seems over the course of time they believe they can. So early 2020s, I believe 2021, 2022, they relaunched that case. Now they're talking about maybe even arresting Trump, not just around foreign wars, but also around maybe the capture of Maduro in Venezuela. So they think they have that jurisdiction.
What does the UN think of them?
Well, they're part of the UN. And of course, I think that's another big concern is, are we living under American law or are we living under United Nations law? Another big issue with this is, we watched when Trump, we watched when Biden was president, case after case going after President Donald Trump. And we saw it's difficult to do that with the American legal system. Maybe a little too easy when it came to what they did to Trump with novel uses of laws. But what if another Democrat comes in, maybe Kamala Harris, or something like that, and rather than try to prosecute Trump using the American justice system, all they need to do is put their hands up and say, okay, we're going to allow the International Criminal Court to go after Trump as a war criminal, maybe for capturing Maduro. Or we're going to let them go after Trump for violating international law or whatever else it is. That is a very real possibility, and one that actually has been raised by his administration.
What do the globalists from Davos think of this bunch?
Well, they're also very much for it. So, at Davos, the World Economic Forum, what they're often talking about is shared global governance. What they want is what they call multi-stakeholder governance, which means, effectively they want a seat at the powers of government. They want elected government, They want international government, like, through the UN or whatever. And then they also want special interest groups. So they want businesses to have a say in government. They want NGOs to have a say in government, which kind of contradicts the non-governmental organization.
Yeah.
They want special interest groups of various sorts, including even like community organizers, quote unquote, to have some say over government policy. And so that's what their kind of whole shtick is.
Who's funding them? China involved?
China, the U.S., most member states. Unfortunately, we've kind of built the noose to hang ourselves when it comes to giving money to the United Nations. And I'm not saying the UN is entirely bad, but without a doubt, we've basically created international bodies and given them a lot of power. And now they're trying to say they have jurisdiction over us. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. You have China on the Human Rights Council. You have North Korea lecturing us about human rights. You have tyrannical regimes talking about freedom. It's absolutely insane what you have happening at the UN.
So we don't recognize the ICC now, but to Secretary of State Marco Rubio's point, how do we dismantle it? And can it be done?
That's going to be the hard point, because what establishes the ICC is its operations through various member states. So the U.S. would have to basically go to all the different member states, and there's a lot of them. It's close to 200, I believe. There's a lot of member states, and so pressuring them to drop it, maybe quite a few would go with it. We already see some movement on that, but China's not going to drop it. Russia's not going to drop it. A lot of countries that want to use it are not going to drop it. And then it's going to be a question of, to what extent can they kind of pull its fangs out, so to speak? Marco Rubio's talking about pretty strong actions. He's talking about sanctions against judges, prosecutors, working with the ICC. He's talking about going after their agents and investigators. And on that point, too, I think we've seen other elements of international policing, like through Interpol, for example, which China has gained very heavy control over the Interpol, international police, and to the extent that they've even been able to influence the red letters they use. So, we actually do see examples of just tyrannical communist regimes using international legal systems like these as their tools.
Keeping it simple, is their main target the United States?
You could say right now the United States and Israel. Without a doubt, they're going after Netanyahu right now. The U.S. is making it so that cannot happen. Trump's trying to block the prosecution of Netanyahu. But I think the main goal is the United States. I think the main goal is they want to bring America to heel in terms of whatever international law, quote unquote, is. And to that point too, when Mamdani in New York gave his whole speech on, he said he believes Netanyahu should be arrested. He was talking about international law. He invoked it directly and said, according to international law, we need to respect international law. All it's going to take for that to happen is a handful of leaders in this country who just agree with it. And then they just have to put their hands up and say, okay, do as thou wilt, come in here and do what you want.
What's the risk of them going after their member countries? I mean, could that backfire on them?
Well, so the Trump admin is trying to push kind of an international alternative order right now. We're of course backing out of a lot of, let's say, international agreements, especially when it comes to the United Nations. We're no longer funding many of them to the point where they're actually having a financial crisis. Some of the ways the UN is looking to get around this is that they're actually looking to do international taxes. For example, taxing like oil shipments or whatever else, so they can fund themselves, which has never been done before, by the way. We've never seen anything like it. Trump is also defunding many of the NGOs. It turns out a lot of non-governmental organizations basically function like governments on behalf of just international interests, China, and the like. And so they're dismantling this and trying to establish kind of an alternate order right now. But I do think the clock is ticking. If Trump does not get this done, if they don't pull the fangs out of the ICC by the time he leaves office, it is very possible they could bring international charges against Trump.
Okay, so you have constitutional rules, laws here in the United States, and this is coming in over the top. it seems to be an obvious threat to the sovereignty of the United States under our Constitution. So it primarily is in the realm of foreign policy. I mean, we have no other alternative but to stop this and to unwind it, and that if it's exercised in the United States, it would be considered foreign invasion. Or am I being too simple?
I think I would agree with you. I mean, I would call it that. You know, is it really different if a country acts like they've already conquered us versus trying to conquer us? You know, let's put it this way: if Britain or whatever else tried invading us tomorrow, and I'm sorry to throw the British under the bus, but you know, historical precedent, let's say. You know,
yeah.
If they invaded us tomorrow, what would the incentive be? Well, you know, if they win the war and the smoke clears, what it means is we'd live under their law, we'd live under their legal system, we'd live under their political system. I think the incursions, just by using international law as the vehicle to you know, do what they want, is a way of achieving that without the need to go to war. They're trying to basically achieve what you would get if you won a war. And we see examples of this. You know, Trump's calling out all these European Union countries taxing, fining American companies, even fining companies for violating free speech laws, including Germany, you know, UK, and elsewhere. Even going after companies that have no headquarters and no operations in European countries, to the extent where they're paying out billions and billions and billions of dollars to European countries, sometimes even equivalent to like the national budgets of these countries. Like Ireland, for example, we effectively get taxed enough through our companies to support their entire government budget.
Wow.
And so, we already see this. We already see them undermining our constitutional protections on free speech, for example. We already see businesses, American businesses, being brought to heel by foreign law. And I think the risk of this, you know, Europe is pretty, you know, they don't abide by our standards, of course, but they're among the better examples in the world right now. What if the lowest common denominator basically decided the rules for everybody? What if, you know, the worst censorship policies were what everybody had to abide by? That is the path we're on right now if we don't get off it.
All right, let me take a quick break. Check out Joshua's website, theepochtimes.com, and of course his YouTube show. They're on YouTube. Handle at Crossroads with Josh Phillips. There's a picture of the landing page. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Ed, co-owner of Visiting Angels. To continue to serve our seniors, we need more caregivers with a heart to serve. Our mission statement is honoring the art of giving, which means we honor you, the caregiver. We know it's our people that make Visiting Angels the best in-home care provider and a great place to work. Come be our next amazing caregiver. Give us a call or apply online. At Visiting Angels, we're committed to you because we honor the art of giving.
Hi, I'm the SOS Alarm guy, here to tell you about a great deal. SOS Alarm will not only beat any internet deal, but will install the system too. So burglars, beware. SOS Alarm for security and beyond.
The world has a view, but God has the vision. That's what sets a Vision TV show apart, seen on the Dove TV.
Welcome to The Vision, where the world has a view, but God has the vision.
The Vision is an inspirational talk show that elevates voices of faith through powerful conversations, highlighting changemakers making a difference.
My group, we are a collective of elder rights activists from across the nation.
Each episode blends heartfelt storytelling with practical insight.
To get up every day and just say, Lord, thank you. I'm here. If you woke me up today, you must have a purpose for me, and I think that's the thing.
Encouraging viewers to live with clarity, compassion, and vision.
We're looking for good things because this is the day that the Lord has made.
Join Alveda King and a panel of friends. The world has a view, but God has the vision. Tuesdays at 1:30 and 8:30 p.m. right here on the Dove TV.
Welcome back. Honored to have back with us Joshua Phillip. He is the award-winning investigative journalist and, of course, the senior investigative reporter for Epoch Times. He does have a podcast. You can check it out on YouTube, handle at Crossroads with Joshua Phillip. And let me encourage you to check it out. Very informative. Joshua, I want to just switch your attention because I know you obviously got a lot of history here. Do you feel somewhat vindicated by the hearings with Dr. Fauci last week?
I do, actually. Although we didn't get a lot from Fauci himself because he pled the fifth over 100 times.
Yeah.
To that point, it's going to be interesting because, this week, Senator Rand Paul is going to bring, charges against Fauci. They're going to vote on whether to
contempt.
Charge him with contempt.
Yeah.
So we could see some big stuff this week.
It was interesting as he continued to declare the fifth. I guess we can get into the legal quagmire of all that. But the bottom line is that the committee continued to do their questioning and brought out everything and the connection with the lab. You got to feel pretty good about that because you really stuck your neck out on that and people were shooting at you there for a while.
Well, yeah, so bit of history on that. I did a documentary about 2 months into the outbreak, before it was even called COVID-19, when it was still called the Wuhan virus or the China virus. Like, that's how early this was. And so, of course, my documentary, we traced all the evidence. We looked at what was coming out of China. We looked at the sequence before it was deleted, and everybody pretended that we never saw the virus sequence, which was actually, it was released by a whistleblower in China. Then the guy disappeared, published by Western medical journals, and then everything was deleted for some strange reason that we still haven't gotten answers for. During that time, I released this documentary and showed all the evidence, and the evidence was very strong, although you could say we still don't know for sure because we can't get people into China. But it seemed to be the case. Yeah, the lab leak from the Wuhan Institute of Virology was the most likely origin. And what we're finding out now from Fauci and his Dear Diaries is that they actually believed this behind the scenes. 10 of the 12 scientists involved in the proximal origins paper where they said, hey, this was natural. If you say it came from a lab, you're a conspiracy theorist. It turns out 10 of 12 of them actually believed it came from a lab. And so why were they covering this up? It's very strange.
What are you looking back on it now and looking back what he did? What's your take?
Looking back at Fauci, it's hard to say. On one side, it seems to be the case that he's trying to cover. This is purely my opinion, purely just my own personal beliefs, of course, right? I don't know his thinking. I don't know what's going through his head, but this is just my own personal feeling, right? Going by just the evidence I've seen, I think there's a few possibilities. One is he's trying to cover up that they were doing possible, illegal gain of function research in China. And they got around that by basically not calling gain of function research. Rather than name it that in their documents, they just describe what it is without calling it by what it is. That's one possibility. They're trying to cover that up. Another possibility, which I think is the more scary one, and Trump has actually written about this on Truth Social, Trump's alleging that maybe Fauci was trying to cover up for China. And I don't know what the interest in that would be, but maybe he was trying to cover up for China. And then there's, of course, maybe the more conspiratorial possibility that there were people who wanted to use COVID to bring about a lot of globalist law. Mm-hmm. Reports coming out that it could have been the wedge to bring in maybe digital, centralized digital currencies, centralized bank digital currencies, or to bring in greater forms of social monitoring, which we did see actually.
Yeah, we saw that. Well, first of all, he's monstrous. That's now been discredited. But where does that leave the WHO? Because they were right in his pocket there for a while.
So that's a very important point. So what actually happened during COVID was effectively this. The World Health Organization was basically the ones establishing international policy. U.S. officials were basically following the directives of the World Health Organization. But the big picture behind it is this. Trump actually pulled the United States out of the WHO and did an investigation. They found the World Health Organization could not demonstrate independence from the Chinese Communist Party. So the WHO is basically working as a sock puppet of the Chinese Communist Party. And what the CCP was doing was this, because I've covered this extensively as well. You remember at the time, China was dealing with the mass protests in Hong Kong. They were concerned that was going to spread throughout all of China. They were basically looking down the barrel of just mass uprisings against the CCP. They crushed it. They did everything they could to stop it, and then they found a method to do it, which was lockdowns, which was health passes, where if you went out and protested, your health code turned red, and they quote-unquote quarantined. In other words, they disappeared you, threw you in the gulag. They used a health emergency as the way to do that. The other big context of it was, we were involved in a trade war at the time. China's economy was massively suffering. The real estate industry was going belly up. Trump was restricting, at the time, semiconductors to China, which they didn't have the production to replace them at the time. And their economy was collapsing alongside the risk of mass protests. And so whether real or not, natural or not, accidental or intentional, the CCP used COVID and lockdowns as a way to basically save itself. It found a way to arrest dissidents, and then it advised through the WHO the same policies to export the financial crisis, shut down the entire global economy, and then they declared China's open for business, and they used that to attract foreign investors. Yeah. So Fauci was following, WHO, and WHO was following China. Is how it worked.
So that's the connection. That's the connection between Fauci and. I see a parallel here. Forgive me if I'm way out. I don't mean to be a conspiratist. I just see a parallel on how the WHO is trying to function globally, and now how the ICC is trying to function globally. Is there a parallel there?
In my take, it's the same global interests behind it. Both the ICC and the WHO are under the United Nations, of course, and both the ICC and the WHO have demonstrated attempts to basically enforce international law. There's the pandemic treaty now through the WHO, even though we're not involved with it as a country here in the United States. If the next president comes in and say, hey, we're going to rejoin the WHO, yeah, we're going to be subject to their quote unquote recommendations. It doesn't mean you have to follow it, but we saw it happen before, frankly. We saw it even happen when, during Trump's first term to an extent. So, the possibility is there.
I guess a personal question. Do you think Fauci will be brought up on contempt charges? Does that have legs, you think?
So this is why that matters. Fauci was pardoned by Biden, basically for all of his work working at the NIH, right?
Yeah, I got a minute.
All of his work, past, present, and future. Mm-hmm. Any crime he committed or may commit, although he's out of NIH, so he's probably not going to do any more in the NIH. He's pardoned for. And so this is where it's really interesting. There was some legal analysis coming out, and it gets very interesting. One of the big questions is, if you've been pardoned for a crime, allegedly, because he was never charged, but if you've been pardoned, do you risk incriminating yourself if you cannot be found guilty?
Right.
And so the fact that he pleaded the fifth, saying, I can't incriminate myself, there's a question legally of whether he can even do that.
Yeah.
So what's really going to matter now is when they bring these contempt charges, which they say they're going to do this week, it's going to bring into question not just Fauci, but even the legality of Biden's pardons.
Okay. 10 seconds. Does the auto pen have anything to do with it?
We may find out. We may find out soon.
Okay.
Did Biden sign them or did the auto pen sign them?
Joshua, thank you for your time. I value it greatly. Lee, say to our viewers and listeners, theepochtimes.com is the website. Check out his podcast handle at Crossroads with Joshua Phillip there on YouTube. Thanks, buddy. Let's stay in touch.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you don't drive it, donate it. By supporting us, you'll get even more mileage out of it.
Thank you from the Dove TV.
The Life Essentials Interactive Study Bible by Dr. Gene Getz. The first ever multimedia study Bible with QR codes enabling you to view 1,500 videos. Watch on your smartphone, tablet, or computer with Gene Getz teaching Principles to Live By from every book of Scripture. 250 hours of in-depth teaching. Gene Getz has over 60 years of Bible teaching and is a renowned theologian. The Life Essentials